Because you got powerful legs. How'd you get the physique? Was it gym or how'd you get the physique?
I've always been.
She's actually not got powerful legs. Do you shower in your dressing room? Do you have a shower on the day of a fight or not? Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
I'm sure no one will mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing nutters messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump. You know what I'm saying?
Welcome, everyone, to episode 557 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. You can find it on Spotify, on iTunes Player, on YouTube, all the places, part of the Sports Social Network. We're all the places you want to be. We're like the American Express of podcasts. Joining me today, Steve Wellings, Dez, Andy Patterson. I'm your host, Matt DiGianardo. Last night or early this morning, depending on what side of the pond you're waking up on, you were witness to the defining win of Jaime Munguia's career up to this point as he took out John Ryder in his, I believe it was 9 rounds, knocking him down 4 times. Ryder had a nice little spell kind of in the middle rounds, trying to pull it back, but Munguia kind of finished it off with a hard right hand. Ryder, tough as they come. Been a fun fighter to watch. Probably the end of the road for him. But Steve, under the tutelage of Freddie Roach, I don't know how much better Munguia looks, but I got to say, I don't think that the lackluster version that we know would have beaten John Ryder and beaten him in that fashion last night. I got to say kudos to Jaime Munguia and to Freddie Roach. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Munguia is improving. We've seen him in the past. I compared him to an excitable puppy coming forward. He was always exciting, but he looks like someone who's just maturing now. He's got a nice head of hair as well, which I'm a fan of. Fast combinations. The jab was working well, looked a bit more patient. He was throwing the right hand to the body, which was working. And I think there's a lot to like about Munguia. He is treated as a bit of a joke, but he's got an exciting style. He's been defensively irresponsible for most of his career, which makes for exciting fights. But last night he just stepped back a little bit, I thought, and worked off the jab. Just a bit more of a mature performance. He brings a good crowd as well, which is always a bonus. Freddie's on board, adding to that offensive arsenal, as you mentioned. Eric Morales is in the background. Oscar hasn't fucked anything up just yet. So I'm a Munguia fan. And Ryder, I think it's just the end of a long, hard road for John Ryder, isn't it? Finally, he got his pat on the back and his payday. The final fight against Canelo, got the win over Danny Jacobs, had a real sort of swan song to his career, which he deserved because he's done things the hard way. But I just looked at him during fight week and I thought, he looks a little bit beaten up, a little bit disconsolate. Maybe he's had a few hard spars or it's a long career catching up on him. And I thought last week the Canelo fight would be the end of the road for him. And he gave that one last great performance. And last night he tried his best. Too young, too fresh, Munguia. and Ryder just had nothing for him. Like to see him pack it in now. Don't think he needs to take any more shots and become a yardstick. He tried his best, but the next generation are taking over, and John Ryder's in the past generation now, unfortunately.
Yeah, it does seem to be that way, but I got to say, Des, that Ryder, he's been on the podcast a few times. We obviously love the guy. He never turned down a challenge. Got the wrong end of it. More than once for sure. And if this is the end, he doesn't need to hang his head in shame by any stretch. He had a damn good career, and I never thought that he phoned it in when he was in the ring.
No, absolutely, and that's. I mean, Steve gave John a really good pitch there. He's never had it easy. He's always had to do it the hard way, and there's something very old school about John Ryder. And if you've been around a few years, you remember Howard Eastman, and you might remember Michael Watson, and before that, you remember Dennis Andrews, and before that, you remember Tony Simpson. Well, John Ryder comes from that cloth. He's one of the guys that shouldn't really still be here. John's hung around a long time. He's been very dogged. He's persevered. He's been stubborn. And when you think back to, I'm a Londoner. I come from a part of London where John comes from as well. It's not too far. So I followed John from the very word go, and I've got to know him personally on that journey. And I think back to the early days. And what I might tell you now might surprise a few people, but Steve mentioned coming up the hard way. I think in John's first 5 professional fights, he boxed on 4 different promotional cards. He was never aligned to any one promoter. He was the unwanted kid. He turned pro with no titles, with no vests. He was the sparring partner. And I know we use the phrase learning on the job, but John really did coin that phrase. He's learned on the job, and he's had to. He's had to travel. He was going up to the iOS before he even turned pro. Sparring with all their pros, sparring with all their elite amateurs. And he had to replicate that under the lights. And John, if you look at particularly his first 10 fights, John was that kid. Now, I don't mean this to be disrespectful. It's just a mark of how much I respect him. John was a kid that was fighting for peanuts while they were stacking the chairs and turning the lights off. John's that kid. He's had a really hard career. And if I can have a minute, Matty, just to sort of go over his career very briefly.
Please.
John wasn't meant to beat Eamon O'Kane, if you can remember that one. Eamon was a standout amateur. Eamon was the Commonwealth gold medalist and the Irish national champion. But John was brilliant that night. And beating Eamon O'Kane the way he did got him the Billy Joe Saunders fight. But this was a sign of things to come for John. He had to go on a Warren show to do it. And he lost a close one. But the fight after that, he was back at the Camden Palais on another promoter show fighting for peanuts again. And he was fighting for his career back then. And I think after Billy Joe Saunders came, if you remember him, Jez Wilson. Now, he was a kid that was doing a few bits up north. And him and John had both been beaten. And I think that fight was pretty much what promoters do. We're not sure who to get behind, so you can fight each other and we'll get behind the winner. John was fighting for his career 10 years ago. So he beat Jez Wilson. Then back on another promoter show, fighting for a British title with Nick Blackwell. One of the worst stoppages I've seen in a British title fight, but he got stopped. Where do you go from now? They've been trying for a British title for 5 years. They've not won it. And I think the promoter and the trainer and John all sat around and said, look, let's try our luck in deeper waters. So they literally went around the country fighting prospects, kids on the up. And it was Jack Arnfield, Adam Etches, Rocky Fielding, Jamie Cox, Callum Smith. He probably wasn't meant to win any of them fights. But John done what John does. He stuck around. He lost a few that he should have won. And in the case of Danny Jacobs, he probably won one that he shouldn't have won. But he deserved that. And I'm really pleased John got the Canelo fight. I'm really pleased John got the Munguia fight. I don't think any of us thought John was going to win those two fights. But I think it was just rewards for the career he's had. He's been around for a decade and a half. He's had a very solid, honest career. No scandal. He's never let himself down. He's always turned up in shape. He's always been a crowd pleaser. I'm really proud of John's effort because I know where he's come from. He weren't meant to be here. He's done really well from where he started. I think John can hold his head high, and I think John can be really proud of the career he's had.
Well stated. Well stated. You have a lot of passion for the guy. It's good when, like I said, you said he probably got the wrong end of that Jacobs decision, but on the right side of it, and that really gave him. I mean, you look at it. I mean, they gave him the Canelo payday, so I mean that was the that was the retirement money basically right there. So everything you put in got out right there, and sometimes it happens that way, and I think we do have to give credit to Eddie for kind of maneuvering that with this fight, the other fight, getting him one at home, etc. It was well done on him. I bet John has nothing but good things to say about Eddie, to be honest with you.
Well, John and Eddie started this journey together. I think John was a boxer before Eddie came into the scene. Like I say, John was boxing on Steve Goodwin shows, on Mick Hennessy shows, before he boxed for Matchroom. So John started this journey perhaps about the same time, or maybe just before Eddie come into it. But I just, there could be people here that might discredit John, and they might say he's not won a British title or a European title or a world title. But sometimes there's context to a career. Steven Gerrard never won a Premier League title. Matt Letitia never won a trophy. I think there's always context to a sportsman's career, and I think John fits that bill. And I think there's a part of a lot of us who think there's a little bit of John Ryder in us. We see ourselves in John, because I genuinely mean this. He never turned pro with a GB vest. He never turned pro with ABA titles. He never got out of London's. But there's context to John's career, and it has been a hard road. He has had to stick with it. And when you think back to the early days, John was fighting on cards with Eric Ochin and Wadi Camacho and Lenny Dawes and Colin Lyons. John's really hung around. He's seen the 2008 Beijing squad come and go. He's seen the 2012 squad come and go. John's really stuck around. And if there was ever a fighter that you had to say his career should be judged off paper because there's context to it, I think John's that guy.
Absolutely. He's certainly one of those cases of you look at his record and people might have an opinion, but you have to say, did you watch those fights? What's behind that record? So fantastically stated there, Des. Andy, I'll tell you what I thought was most interesting for me towards the end there is the fact that the referee couldn't see the corner with the towel, and all sorts of people are trying to all sorts of people are trying to alert him, and the timekeeper just steps in and says, fuck it. This thing is over. I don't know if I've ever seen that before, but fair play to the timekeeper. I think he did the right thing, Andy.
Yeah, I thought obviously they went through the towel, and I was shocked. I was shocked. I mean, obviously Steve and I think Rob and that were kind of broke it down last week and that as well. As to why they felt there's maybe a step too far. I felt John still had a wee bit more, and how it basically turned out is he had nothing left really. He just never really bothered Munguia a lot. I felt. I mean, Munguia personally wasted a fair bit of energy just popping up and down on the spot. But other than that, it's an impressive win for him, especially today anyway. But one thing I did notice about Munguia was just using that reach. Certainly has looked like he's grown into the weight as well. 27 now, he's going to be saying the old man strength now coming in at the kid, 6 feet tall. He's a big super middleweight. Working on that 1-2 as well, what Freddie used to do with Pacquiao and that, they're kind of darting in and out with the kind of 1-2.
He's stepping with the right hand,
yeah,
and he's throwing it from a longer distance than where he's landing it.
And he was catching John with shots, and John's reacting to these shots in the past that it just wouldn't happen. So in hindsight, I probably would agree with Steve from last week in that the Canelo fight was the last hurrah. And I agree with everything everybody's been saying. He deserves his flowers now at this point. He deserves to kind of go out now. His head held high. The last 5 years, I mean, you think about it as well. It's been a good transformation. You think about it, he went up in weight, to 168. It totally transformed his career. Remember that time he used to come on here with us a number of times, you know, after fights, just as he was gradually building himself into that weight class. The Callum Smith fight as well, obviously he should have had the win in that one, and then obviously he's had to keep picking away and keep waiting to get that big moment against Canelo. When he finally got it, gave it everything he had, broken nose, you know, he just got badly beaten up in the end of that as well. Gave everything he had, never quitting him. And it says, I think Des gave the best talking at this point. That it's been a great career. He should walk away now at this point. I don't want to hear him even contemplating moving to the European level or domestic level, or even settling scores with other domestic fighters who may want to have a pick at him. He's earned his money, he's earned his flippers. Let him go, and just say all the best to him, because it's been a very, very good career.
Absolutely, great guy. Just can't say anything bad about him, and we hope that he is going to enjoy his retirement, and he's saving well, because he definitely deserves to enjoy the fruits of his labor. Steve, on to Munguia. Let's take away some promotional barriers here and just be oblivious fans for a moment. What are some fights that you would like to see for Jaime Munguia coming up here? I mean, I just think, whether he wins or loses all of them, I think there are just so many entertaining fights at super middleweight that you can attach Jaime Munguia to.
It's difficult, isn't it? We take away promotional barriers and then you can pick out a number of different names, but unfortunately promotional barriers are always going to be in the way. He wants Canelo, that's what he's saying, the all-Mexican showdown. It kind of makes sense. Canelo, we're told, is looking at Charlo, and then after that it's going to be Benavidez. He's with a completely different promotional entity. That seems unrealistic at the moment. Benavidez as well, unrealistic. Someone like a Christian and Billy, more realistic. Two come-forward fighters, both undefeated.
That's fun.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Would look forward to that. Maybe a bit of a lesser level, maybe someone like a Bazinian or something to keep him going. Melakuziev is with Oscar. He's lost before. Good fighter.
The Canadian fought, what do you call him again? Oh,
the one you just mentioned.
Sorry, I forgot.
Eric Bazinian.
Yeah, that's the one.
Eric Bazinian. Yeah, he fought on Thursday against Godoy. He's kind of just ticking along, looking for an opportunity. Somebody like that, undefeated, winner stays on, kind of thing. Pacheco is with Eddie at the moment. Edgar Berlanga is with Eddie at the moment. There's options out there for him, but they might try and keep him toasting until they can get him an opportunity. Guys like Andrade, Morel, Plant, PBC guys, you can write them off at the moment. I don't think they're realistic, but you can't look down as well. As Sergio Mora was saying on the broadcast, it's time for him to fight a big name now. He can't keep on fighting the sort of lesser guys. He has to move on up. But
there's a few of them in that class, so isn't there, Stephen? You got Bazinian, you've got Munguia. I mean, that was probably Munguia's best win there last night, in terms of name level, easily. Yeah. But then you're looking at Bazinian, he needs that next level opponent now as well. Billy is the same; he needs that next level. Pacheco, he's the next one. He needs that next level opponent. They're all on the cusp there.
I think maybe Pacheco, Andy, has a little bit more leeway because he's only 22. They might sort of hold him back. Berlanga, he's 26. He's 21-0.
I think that's more likely that in that whole Mexican-Puerto Rican showdown thing there, Steve. I think Munguia against Berlanga, I could see that happening. Definitely favor Munguia. Would be a firefight for sure.
Yeah, Berlanga and Billy, Melakuziev, they're the kind of names I'd be looking at if they can't get the big one. I think Canelo's wishful thinking, Matty, to be honest, although I would be a fan of that fight.
If Munguia was PBC, Steve, I think that Canelo would jump on that fight.
Yes, he would. He would.
Because I kind of, in some ways, and I might be wrong on this, and I'd love to hear you guys' input. I kind of look at Munguia as Benavidez light. Any thoughts on that?
I think size-wise, Benavidez bullies you with his size. Munguia, maybe not the biggest. He comes forward with a bit more ferocity rather than the power and the size of Benavidez. So I'm not too sure about that one. But PBC are very insular, so I can't see them letting... They've got Canelo now tied up. I can't see them letting him out of his grip in any shape or form. They'll want to keep that in-house. Matt, are you in the house?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Des, I see you're unmuted. Did you want to get a say in on that?
Yeah, I just think it's hard to correctly navigate Munguia because although he's been around for a long time, he's over 40 fights, and he's proven himself to be a top operator. There's something about him. I just don't think he's polished enough for the top end. And I just think the Benavidez's and the Canelos would find him out. I think they're just too crisp. They punch too accurate. Although last night was the best version of Munguia we've seen. But I think that might be a lot to do with perhaps in America. You'll tell us, Matty. John Ryder's a bit like how we view David Lemieux. Good fighter, but our top kid should beat him. And I think maybe that encouraged Munguia to be so proactive yesterday. He come out really on the front foot, very aggressive, loads of energy. And I think that fight was won in the first 5 rounds last night. But that was all down to Munguia. But I think if he was to fight someone like Benavidez or a Canelo, I think he'd be found out. So you kind of look to a Berlanga or a Mbili. But then again, I don't think them fights are big enough. And I think Munguia deserves a big fight.
Yeah, he's been around a while, and I think the name's coming. I mean, honestly, a fight that would sell, and again, promotional issues are there. Benavidez against Munguia is obviously, I mean, the Mexican fan base would just eat that up.
Be brilliant. Well, no, I think yours was a good shout, Matty. The Berlanga one, obviously, it'd be cross-promotional, but within the DAZN ecosystem, you'd think that would make things easier to navigate. Unfortunately, it seems Oscar, Eddie rarely work together with the biggest fighters, even though they're under DAZN. DAZN can't seem to force them to make the fights. But Berlanga and Munguia, Mexico versus Puerto Rico, I think it was a great shout from you.
Well, yeah, and I'd love to see it. And Steve, apparently, Oscar and Eddie did get together, and he was asked by the announcer for dinner, and then Oscar said dessert, and I was like, "Well, that sounds a little weird, but okay, you know, whatever it takes to get these fights done. You know, if you guys got to blow each other, then by all means do it. I want the fights.
Yeah, on pay-per-view.
We'll get to that, Steve. I have a bone to pick about pay-per-views today. So that was a fantastic, fun night from Munguia. And I got to say, if you have one takeaway from it, I don't think that Ryder was shot. And the fact that Munguia stopped him decisively and arguably, that's what to take away from that fight is, because people don't do that to John.
I don't think he's shot. That's too strong a word, but I think he's worn out.
he's on the back end of it for freaking sure. Yeah, that's for sure.
I'll be honest with you. I thought when I seen this fight announced at the time, I was a wee bit kind of surprised. To be fair, like, I mean, I know it's January and he fought Alvarez, was it June time last year? And I know it's like 6 months and that, but it was a hard fight for him, and to come back in that time frame, I just thought, I was just surprised at it, to be fair.
And I think if you see the way Munguia fought and beat Derevyanchenko, it was an awful big ask for John, particularly after the hard fight he had with Canelo. I think this was probably geared up. The Oscar and Hopkins are not going to bring John Ryder over to beat their kid, are they? They're going to bring John Ryder over to make their kid look good. They're going to bring John Ryder over to potentially springboard Munguia onto a big fight. But I don't think John's not shot. You don't fight like that if you're shot. But I think Munguia was the wrong style at this stage in John's career. But I understand the money behind it, and I understand the move.
A couple of years ago, Des, Ryder against Derevyanchenko would have been a fun fight, wouldn't it?
Brilliant fight, yeah, absolutely. Look, didn't we just? I mean, look, we're paying our respect to John because he's been a solid operator for a decade and a half, and we've all sort of watched the journey. But when hasn't John ever turned up? When hasn't he ever been in shape? When hasn't he ever looked immaculate? When hasn't he ever given us value for money? So, I mean, if John was 5 years younger, John against Benavidez, John against Mbili, John against Derevyanchenko. John's been, like I say, there's always context to people's careers. The best comparison I can make is probably Tony Simpson. For those who remember Tony Simpson, he was a world-class operator. He didn't win the big ones, but he was in that company. And that's the best thing I can say about John. He was a world-class operator. We're not talking about Canelo or Benavidez, or we're not talking about that. But if you were to pick someone out, say, who's going to hold his own, who's going to give him, do himself well, conduct himself properly, and put up a good fight, John's always that guy. And domestically, we forget Billy Joe Saunders is probably one of the best British middleweight champions post-war. If you look at Billy Joe up to the Andy Lee fight, Billy Joe Saunders' record domestically was brilliant. John fought him. John fought Callum Smith. John fought Rocky Fielding. John fought Jamie Cox. John's got a brilliant resume at domestic level. So, yeah, he reminds me so much of Tony Simpson, because he was the guy that he didn't win the big ones, but he belonged in the big ones.
Well, there's some British boxing history for you folks right there. What is not part of British boxing history, but could very well be part of the great history of Puerto Rican boxing. Oscar Collazo picking up another minimum weight title defense, this time over Rainiris Gutierrez, stopping him in the third round. And Andy, this this kid is freaking sharp, man. He has every punch in the book. He is calm. He's got good feet. I need to see, obviously we need a couple more fights from him, but I mean, I'm thinking this guy might end up being the best minimum weight since Chocolatito.
It's big pedestal to fill, mate. To be fair, to be honest, I didn't catch any undercard now, but I have spoke to you in the past about Collazo. He does look everything you just mentioned there. Future wise, again, because it's so light, he could jump between the divisions. There is title fights here that he could maybe have. I think it'll be interesting to see if he can get the IBF title fight against that guy KENSHIRO, who is he's all action as well. He's a thick set for that weight class and that as well. I think Collazo against KENSHIRO would be an excellent fight to make it that weight class, to be fair, mate. Didn't catch any, to be honest with you, so I can't comment on it. I'm just like looking at future options there. A couple of fights here, but nothing great. Longevity is going to be the main thing for him, really, if he's going to stand out, to be fair. You know how long it took Gonzalez to break out into the main public, and it took him years, and I'm talking nearly a decade, must be the best part of a decade before he made the breakout.
Well, let me say,
do.
Well, because of that road paved by Chocolatito, bringing attention to the lower weight classes, Collazo isn't having that problem. This is his 9th professional fight, and I think I've seen his last 4 fights on DAZN cards. So he's going to have a chance maybe to springboard into the minds of boxing fans far quicker.
Yeah, I just think as well, maybe Oscar, I know I said to you guys before actually that Oscar's planning on making, or he's building or planning to build a small indoor arena, and it's going to be purely sited for boxing for remember like your old Thursday night fight shows and that used to have like your build-up cards. That's where Oscar's is planning, I understand, and then obviously it's going to be near the T-Mobile for the bigger cards, that type of thing. So that's what he's planning, but I wouldn't think he's planning then taking anything over to the East Coast, because this kid's Puerto Rican. I'd be interested to see if he could tap into that New York market and try and get some of the Puerto Ricans, but taxes at the end of the day, Matt, you'll came better than me, but Las Vegas hasn't got
no state income tax.
No state income tax, and that, so it makes sense for Oscar at this point in this in this market at this point to be looking at that. But I just think he's going to struggle. I think simply because of the weight class. Puerto Ricans have running about the kind of like welterweight and that. He's going to be phenomenal. He is going to be, but as I say, he needs to break out fights. Now I just think he's just unfortunate in that weight class. It just isn't going to get them.
He needs the right dance partner.
And again, like Estrada and Gonzalez, those two kind of like, it would be ideal if he could get like an opponent right now that he could face, and then maybe 5 years down the line they can face again like Estrada and Gonzalez did, for example, if they remain the course. But it's going to take special fighters to do that, mate.
Amen. Des, I saw you were coming off of mute over there. Were you wanting to get something in on the wonder that might be Oscar Collazo?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I think he's a terrific fighter. But you see him, like sometimes you see someone from the blocks. And last night, Collazo just looked like a winner from the change room. The way he was warming up, the way his ring walk, the way he got into the ring, his presence, his demeanour, the way he approached the fight, his strategies, the way he put his punches together. And you called it. You said he might be the most exciting minimum weight fighter since Chocolatito. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the next one. He's a really, really exciting prospect. really good fighter. And we're always looking for guys at these lower weights to give us something. You know, we talk about Inoue and all that he brings to his respective division. We've just seen it with Bam. I think this is the next one. I think he's going to be a really exciting journey.
Yeah, it'll be curious to see where that journey goes to. He's only 5'2", 61-inch reach. He's definitely not a huge minimum weight by any stretch. So I wonder how far he could jump. Steve, your thoughts on this little offensive wrecking machine?
Very few thoughts in addition to what everybody else has said. I didn't even see this one, to be honest. This, Fulgham, and what was the other one? There was another fight on here that I didn't get to see either. I didn't see the women's fight, and I can't remember anyway. But there was a few that I didn't get to catch, unfortunately. But I have seen Collazo in the past against Jerusalem and Diajan, I think it was, or Reyes. I'm looking down his record. I've seen a few in the past, and he's explosive. I like a puncher at the lower weights as well. 9-0, 7 knockouts, and he brings the heat. But yeah, he didn't bring enough heat for me the weekend because I didn't get to see it, unfortunately.
Oh, it's worth your time to catch those 3 rounds, Steve, because I think we're going to be talking about this guy for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so since you didn't catch the rest of the card, kind of go over it.
I saw Picasso.
Yeah, that was he hurt his rib or something there, like through the 5th round, and kind of let off the gas there. Interesting fight there. Kind of got tested towards the end by Eric Ruiz. A fairly enjoyable fight, all in all.
Yeah, Picasso paints a beautiful picture, Matty. Somebody had to come up with that one. I didn't hear the commentary hitting on that one too much, but he looked $1 million, didn't he, for the first 3 or 4 rounds? I thought he looked class. He wanted to stop this Ruiz. I don't think he'd been stopped before. Ruiz had a bit of a hard luck story, so I was kind of rooting for him a little bit. They were talking about his flat had been flooded a few weeks ago, and he had to get the kids out, and he'd had a lot of battle with alcohol, and he was a year sober, and you were kind of pitching for him. I tell you what, he took a hell of a shot. Never been stopped.
Fucking world-class chin.
World-class chin, man. This Picasso was hitting him with absolutely everything, and he just could not budge him. And then, as you say, I think he ended up with a rib injury or something, and he went from coming forward to stepping right off. Ruiz started hitting him to the body then, started pushing him back, hadn't got the power or the skill or the nous, I think, to get in range and do any damage. And Picasso dealt with the injury very well, and I wouldn't hold that against him, the fact that he looked so good early on, because he was clearly injured. He's definitely one to keep an eye on. 126, I think he is as well. I'm thinking about potential future opponents. This could be a complete one-off. There's no one really on his record in the past to suggest that he's going to the very, very top. But skill-wise and on the eye test, I thought Picasso looked brilliant. If he can stay fit, stay healthy, he's going to be one for the future. He's only 23 years of age as well. And as for Ruiz, I hope he gets another opportunity off the back of this, because he more than played his part. Again, Roberto Diaz left Oscar de la Hoya, and I thought, oh, they're going to struggle now with the matchmaking, but whoever stepped into his place is doing a good job, because when it comes to well-matched, entertaining fights for the prospects and for the champions, I think Oscar, not him, because he's a washed-up cokehead these days, as sad as it is for me to admit that, but the way his team put the fights together on the undercards now, I think he's really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. I just generally enjoyed this card all in all. Let's see, what else do we have on there that we saw? Oh, wrong one. Got so many tabs here. There's just cards out the yin-yang here. Yeah, let's see here. So went over Collazo, Picasso. Let's see here. Gabriela Fandora stopping Christina Cruz in the last round. For those who watched it, the stoppage was a little bit kind of debatable, I guess. And Cruz was doing well. The scorecards were awful. I thought she probably had.
Yeah, I heard that. Wasn't it meant to be really close? But when I saw the cards, they were very, very wide.
Yeah, well, and I thought that DAZN was giving her a little too much credit. I thought she probably had like 3 rounds in there, and one of the judges had her there. But 2 of the judges, one of them only gave her 1 round. Another one gave her 0 rounds. But I thought Cruz was doing really well. She had a fairly deep amateur background. She might have been 41, but didn't look it. She had nowhere.
Oh, she looks well, doesn't she?
Yeah, Fundora just in the later rounds just took it to her, smacked her around pretty damn hard, and caught her with a good shot, and then was working her to the body, turning an angle, and Cruz had her back turned to her, and just kept it that way. And I think we saw another fight recently with that, and the ref had no choice but to call the stoppage in the 10th round. So another stoppage victory for the Towering Inferno. Gabriella Fundora. That's not her nickname. It's Sweet
Very good.
Poison. But but yeah, that was a decent women's fight. I think people would enjoy that one. Gregory Morales against Ronel Ron. That was a pretty little fun fight. Roan can take a hell of a shot. Another one of those guys that can just weather the storm pretty damn well. I think he did end up ultimately getting stopped, if I recall, but it was a pretty fun fight. And then Darius Fulgham going the distance for the first time in his career against Atlantis Fox. Fox kind of came at it hard in the early rounds, seemed to kind of lose his energy, but he is really an old school kind of fighter when it comes to getting the distance. He's got a lot of tricks up his sleeve. He won a few rounds, definitely not enough to win the fight. But I think that was a really good step up fight for Fulgham on that card. Because Fox just, he's the right kind of style to test a guy and to take you the distance. First time that Fulgham has gone the distance in his career. And Des, I see you're wanting to say in there a tricky fighter the Fox can be. And I like the way the Fulgham handled it at the end.
And I think Fox took that at 4 weeks' notice as well. So he was drafted in, and his style was to smother Darius. He just smothered him. And I don't think the crowd quite liked it because Darius probably wanted a bit of room to get his shots off because he's a puncher. Something in that, I think it was that fight. I think one judge had it 10 rounds to Darius Fulgham, and another judge had it 95-95. Am I thinking about the right fight?
Yeah, it was. They were all over the place. I thought I didn't think it could be either one of them. I thought it was a close but clear victory for Fulgham myself.
But can you see how Fox is just a brilliant guy to bring in if you want to give someone rounds and you want to see what a prospect's made of? So, yeah, Darius done everything he's meant to do. He hung in there. He kept throwing. He put his punches together. Fox smothered him, kept pushing, kept working. But Fox isn't a puncher. He's tall for the weight. You know what you're going to get with Atlantis Fox. He's really good value for money. And if you've got a young prospect like Fulgham, who you think you've had 10, now I want you to step it up a bit, Atlantis Fox is just that guy. And it kind of does shed a bit of light on how well Liam Williams done. Because didn't Liam Williams stop Atlantis Fox a few years back?
I think you might be correct.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and Fox would have had more ambition. He would have been a lot fresher. So that's a notable win for Liam Williams back then, isn't it?
I think that might have been at a lower weight too. Those Fox kids. I mean, they get down to weights that just seem inconceivable.
Yeah. Michael as well. He's the same, isn't he? He's a wee string bean.
Yeah, and he's about the same height as his brother, and he's fighting at welterweight. I think Atlantis started at 154, and that might have been where Williams met him, or it could have been 160. But you look at him; he could be.
He was 160, Matty. Yeah, 160.
Yeah, I mean Fox. I mean, he could be a light heavyweight easily, and
he could.
The way that he fights too, Des, I think that if he wants to pick up these paychecks and test these prospects, pick up a few W's along the way too. He's fully capable. I think he doesn't take so much punishment that's out of bounds for him. Because he's really clever in that he let Fulgham close the distance, but once it was closed, he let Fulgham stay smothered, and he would, instead of staying on the ropes, walk back with Fulgham as he tried to give himself distance. Just really clever old school Survivor stuff.
Yeah, you nailed it. That's a great description. He's very wily, he's very slippery, he's very shrewd. He knows how to look after himself, and that's something that, like, I noticed it with Munguia last night and RYDER. Now, RYDER wasn't winning the fight, but he was never out of the fight. And I think after 5 rounds, Munguia took his foot off the pedal a little bit. There was certainly moments in rounds where John was landing, and particularly with that lead right hook. But when you look at the two fighters at the end, Munguia hasn't got a mark on him. A sign of a good fighter is Nana to look after yourself in there. Fox is clearly a good fighter because he knows how to look after himself in there. But Fox, unfortunately, has probably worked out, if I start beating kids, the phone will stop ringing. So he's kind of found himself in his position now, which a lot of fighters do, that I've got a half decent record, and if I keep giving prospects good tests, if I keep providing value for money, the phone will keep ringing. But he's not meant to win, is he?
No, but it doesn't mean he won't in some cases, and that's the great thing about fighters like that. So that was a pretty damn card, or a pretty damn good card from Golden Boy from Arizona over the weekend. I thought it was great. Scored a few bucks off of that one. The ESPN bet offered 13-2 on Ryder to be knocked down more than once in the fight. So I threw a fiver on that, scooped that up, and I also got Fulgham over 4.5 rounds, along with Ryder Munguia not to go the distance in a little parlay. So scooped up some wins to offset some of the losses for this guy over here. Steve, you had an even better weekend, though, because I hear that you went out into the public and you attended some fights. Did I hear this correctly?
Yeah, I did actually. I saw quite a few fights, and none of them in the crowd, unlike the football today. So they were all in the ring. It was a good atmosphere. I enjoyed it. I was there
It's
with
nice.
Dominic.
It's nice that you've stopped starting fights in your later years. Good for
Oh
you.
no, flip me! I couldn't start fights or finish them, to be honest with you, these days. So I'm completely washed. But nobody in the ring was washed in Belfast on Saturday evening. Ulster Hall. We were out by 10:15 as well, which was nice. Nice early finish. No messing about there. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fights on the card altogether. I'll go for the undercard very quickly. Giorgio Vizioli, it's quite the name. He scored a nice knockout of Samuel Pikire. Really nice left hand, if anybody hasn't seen that. 2 Walkers won the fight on the card, rather. Kurt Walker getting a win over Darwin Martinez. Walker was an Olympian for Ireland back in the day. Not much of a puncher, though. He's a bit of a back foot boxer. I think he'll get found out when he goes up the levels. Connor Walker, bit of Wolverhampton representation on the card, beat Lloyd Germain, who was undefeated coming in. Walker just broke him down to the body, really. Germain was a big specimen. Knocked him out in the 3rd round, dropped him 3 times altogether. Germain just didn't want it. Who else did we have? Siobhan Clark is 8-0. He beat Tommy McCarthy. Tommy's best days are behind him, really. We've had him on the pod before. He's a good lad, talented amateur.
Yeah,
but
more than a few people thought he was going to be competitive, and I hear it just was not the case.
It just doesn't click for him. Saw him go out to Poland recently. I think he fought for the European title or something, got knocked out in 7 rounds. I just think an opportunity in Belfast came his way and he took it. He does a lot of things outside of the ring. He's into stand-up and podcasting and all these other non-money making endeavours. So I don't know what he's going to do with himself now, but he just maybe took that final payday. Talented guy in his prime, could put his shots together nicely, but just didn't seem to be in great shape. Got stopped in the 4th round. This Clark, I'm not sure how far he'll go either. He's a bit of a physical unit, but down the stretch, you think that someone who hits him to the body might catch up with him, but Tommy just wasn't that guy. Threw a few nice shots early on, especially with the right hand, but Clark just broke him down. Tommy ended up down in the 4th, and the referee stopped it shortly after. And then on to the main 2 fights. This was what we were all there for. They're talking about potential future fights between Paddy Donovan from Limerick and Lewis Crocker from Belfast. Crocker was the main event. Donovan looks really good. They're calling the real deal. Early on, he looked great. He was throwing shots from all angles. I've seen him fight a few times now in person, and he's really, really exceptional fighter, talent-wise. He had a gut check here against this Herrera. Herrera looked like he was going to shell up early. He wasn't going to throw a lot, maybe go the distance. Then he started throwing a few body shots, and Donovan looked a bit uncomfortable in the 5th round. His nose had gone in the 6th round. It was starting to bleed, and Herrera was really fancying it. And all of a sudden, we were thinking at ringside, flip me, it's going to be tough for Donovan. He could be in deep here. And then he found a body shot, similar to Lyndon Arthur against that Brian Suarez. A body shot out the blue, and all of a sudden, Herrera was down again shortly after with another body shot, and then stopped. I think I like the bloodthirsty side of things. Thought the referee, Bob Williams, probably could have let him go on. Herrera's corner was absolutely incensed. He tried to jump into the ring and all, and the security got hold of him, but it all calmed down. Donovan got the job done. Andy Lee was pleased. Real gut check performance. These are the kind of performances we want to see these talented guys go through. So he got that done. And then later on in the evening, Crocker main event beat Jose Felix. Now, this was a bit of a contentious one because Crocker had weighed in 3 pounds over the weight limit, and Felix was really a lightweight, a super lightweight at most. He was infamous for beating Gary Cully last May. So he's a bit of a puncher, a bit of an upset artist. Crocker he was just too big for him. And there's a whole issue with the weight. Crocker explained himself afterwards. A lot of people aren't happy about it, etc. We know what it's like in boxing, man. It's a dirty sport, isn't it? He came in at 150. The board told him that he wasn't allowed to get any lower, whereas Felix still had to make 147. So it's almost like the guy making the weights punished. The title, he couldn't win the title, but it was some WBO thing anyway. Low blows in the 3rd round. Felix got a point deducted. Boxed pretty well early on. Got a few body shots gone. Then he got hit with a body shot himself in the 4th round. He looked in agony. I thought, right, here we go. The fight's over. Somehow Felix managed to get up again, got into the 5th round, and then right in front of us, Crocker's known for his left hook, caught Felix with a cracking sort of check left hook. Again, he nearly fell through the ropes in front of us. I thought, flip me, that's a knock the head off kind of shot. All of a sudden, Felix gets back up again, and I would have let him go on. Marcus McDonald called it off. I think he was in reasonable enough condition to go on with the fight. Crocker, he's growing on me. The weight thing obviously is a bit distasteful, but early on in his career, I wasn't too fussed on him. He was quite an abrasive, aggressive character, but he has a spite about him that I like. You know, he laughs at people. He's a bit flat-footed. He comes forward. He throws a lot of heavy shots. He believes in his power. The left hook really is looking like at a certain level, it's the real deal. And him against Donovan, let's get that fight made. As Des was saying in the chat earlier today, Crocker was talking about, let's get into a stadium, make sure the numbers are right. Neither of them were really committing to the fight. And Connor Walker, who I mentioned earlier, might get thrown in against Donovan next. Crocker might fight somebody else. Either way, they've got to make that fight now. It's really maturing nicely. And if Crocker can hit Donovan to the body like Herrera did, could be very interesting. I would favour Donovan to win that fight, but Crocker, he's going to be a tough bastard to get rid of, especially if he's coming in overweight, but I don't think that will happen again. But yeah, sorry, Matty, I've gone on for quite a while here, but I'm passionate about this subject. It was a decent card, actually, and the fact we got out early as well, man, bonus.
Steve, the only thing that I saw of that fight was the last 3, or that card was the last 3 rounds of Crocker versus Felix. And the only real opinion I can have on that fight is it's really fucked up when the referee counts over you. You stand up and he immediately waves it off when there's time, not even examining you. It's like he had already made up his mind. If you just wave it off when he's on the canvas, don't fucking wait till he stands well within the 10 count and then fucking wave it off without really getting a good glance at him. And he appeared really to be fine. I'm not saying he would have won. I'm not even saying he would have made it out of the round. But that was just ridiculous on the part of the referee. What the fuck?
Yeah. Hamed says Steve Welling's making sure to cover Eddie's cards. Well, I was there, so yeah. Anyway, yeah, I agree with you completely, Matty. I mean, I don't know why the referees do this. There's some ticks with referees at the moment that really I don't understand. Like, the whole count you to 8 or 9, they get up, do this, they do it, do that, they do it, and they wave it off. Another one is the grabbing. I know I was going in on Hugh Russell last night after the Pekire knockout against Vizioli. And Hugh Russell was grabbing Pekire, grabbing him constantly, trying to wrestle and grapple with him. And now I understand it's a safety issue. If a fighter's wobbling around like a drunk, then grab the holder, then put him down on the stool. But a lot of the times, this isn't the case. You've got an angry guy who's just been stopped. You're grabbing hold of him, in his face, won't let him go. This is when, fighters are going to lash out at referees. They're pumped up. They don't want you in your space. They're angry. He clearly wasn't hurt enough that he was going to fall out the ring. There's a few wee things of referees that just annoy me.
Yeah, that was rather annoying in my opinion. Des, I know you didn't catch much of the card, but I know you had some thoughts on Crocker. I don't know. I was kind of bugged by just the guy celebrating so hard on a weak stoppage when you come in overweight, but whatever excites you, I guess.
I went into this fight with an opinion. I come out with a different opinion. I didn't like him failing weight the way he did. I think 3 pounds over is a liberty, especially when you're bringing a kid up from lightweight, like welterweight. I think you've got an obligation to be professional, and I kind of expect better from Billy Nelson. But it is what it is, and they've manipulated the system. That said, Crocker's everything I like in a fighter. He's aggressive. He's nasty. He looks to me like someone that can just have a fight, as well as being a good boxer. And he throws punches with mean intentions. I like his inside work, his mid-range work, the hooks, the uppercuts. And I like the fact that he's prepared, albeit with a much smaller guy, to stand there and say, you hit me and I'll hit you back. I think, to reiterate what Steve said, and Steve was there, if we can get him and Donovan in the ring sooner rather than later, let's not overcook this one. Let's not look too far down the line. Let's try and get these two in the ring. And I think there's something really big for Irish boxing now. I like Crocker a lot.
Well, we'll see what's going up ahead. It sounds like he's got some good fights in potentially in the works, and he'll have an opportunity to prove himself on the bigger stage. Yeah, onwards and upwards, but hopefully slightly downwards on the scales for Lewis Crocker. Let's see here. What else did we see? Oh, there was a card from Canada on Thursday night, which Mr. Wellings reminded me of. Surprise of the evening might have been Albert Ramirez going the distance, and what a fight that was closer than the cards say, with Artur Zeletdinov. It's one judge not giving Artur a single round, and the other one's giving him 1 and 2 respectively. Eric Bazinian taking out Billy Facundo Godoy, Argentinian, I believe, in 3 rounds. That was a bit of a mismatch, as was Steve Claggett against Marcos Gonzalez Barraza, but Claggett staying busy. I like it. And then I think the furthest I went down the card is I also saw Mary Spencer against Sonia Dreiling. It's one of those fights where I wish I would have checked out the weigh-in, because if I would have seen that Mary Spencer was fighting a midget, I think I would have taken her to stop Dreiling early, which she absolutely did in what was just a demolition job, in which Dreiling's corner was ever so merciful and saying, yeah, I don't think this is going to go our way. Let's pack it on up and head south to the States. Steve, what were your thoughts on this card?
Lots of thoughts. I'll try and be more concise this time, though, Matty. I did sit and watch the whole thing. Bazinian, yeah, you're quite right. A very ambitiously scheduled 10-rounder. Godoy, I don't know, he was complaining about cramp in his right leg after the first round. I don't quite know how he got cramped that quickly. But anyway, Bazinian's right hand was just too much for him. Bazinian's had trouble in the past. I think it was Macias, another Argentine, gave him a little bit of trouble. But since then, he beat Ronald Ellis. I'm saying to say off the top of my head in his last fight. Godoy was a step down from him. He'll play a part at world level, Bazinian, I don't doubt that, but he'll be as a worthy challenger to someone else's story. He's not going to be a world champion, I don't think. Ramirez, Andy's seen him in the past. He put me on to him. I think he's a Venezuelan, against this Artur Ziatdinov. They were both gym mates at one point, or they were in the same gym. Both came over to Canada to make their fortune. Highly decorated amateurs. Ramirez, he holds his hands quite low, enjoys his work, steps off. Early on, quite explosive, but if he doesn't get rid of you, he slows down, becomes a little bit predictable. And as you said, Ziatdinov came into the fight, very basic, up and down, not really very much apart from the jab, just sort of amateurish 1-2s, but it was working for him because Ramirez had lost his explosivity. So once you get past those athletic gifts, someone decent will give Ramirez trouble. Claggett, I like him. Seems to be a really enthusiastic guy. Bit of a John Ryder type, really. He's had a lot of losses, but he always gives a good account of himself. Keeps on plugging away. Eye of the Tiger have got him opponents. This Barraza just soaked up an absolute beating and just hitting him with constant shots. And he's in the top 10 of the at 140 now, Claggett. So he will be plucked out maybe by a champion at some point, hopefully. And then on to the guys on the undercard. A few of these fought on the Beterbiev-Smith undercard, so they definitely do like to keep them busy, especially if they're getting early knockouts. Why not? Jean Arobio, Colombian, can't speak a word of French or English, getting translated in the corner, battered his opponent. He's won every fight by KO. Marino Fendero as well, a French guy, won his fight by second round KO. And Wilkins Mathieu, I'm a bit high on him. I think he's good, 19 years of age. He also won his fight by KO. It was quite poorly matched. The guys who came over, Matty, didn't really offer much resistance, to be honest. And it was one of the weaker cards from Eye of the Tiger, but they're keeping them active, which I love to see. So long may it continue.
You know, going back to an earlier conversation, Steve, I think Eye of the Tiger is running out of options, and they might be forced to put Bazinian in with him, Billy, just to have an in-house fight that matters.
Yeah, that would be good. I would love them to see him do that, because they're like 26-0 and 28-0, and both around the same period, point of their career. Very similar fighters. They're headlining rival cards. They're at the same weight. Makes a lot of sense, and they might be forced to do that, Matty. I think ideally they would have paired them off against champions by now, but the divisions, it's not just a problem at super middle, it's a problem all over boxing.
Well, it's Canelo has all the belt.
Canelo has all the belts. I mean, someone on another podcast, I would credit them if I could remember, but I listened to that bloody many, was going on about the situation at super welterweight, light middle, 154 at the moment. It's just absolutely stagnant. There's guys like Charles Conwell's been sitting waiting for his chance for about 18 months now. These guys are mandatories, not necessarily in Conwell's case, and they just can't get a shot. and Billy, Bazinian are having to fight these kind of opposition because they can't get a shot. The belts are hostage. People are fighting once or twice a year. It's just stagnating.
I'd say how many of these places where things are held up are things held up because of PVC fighters?
Yeah, well, I'm starting to come around that way. I mean, I'm a fan of Al Heyman, praise be his name, but it's starting to piss me off. The inactivity of the PBC is starting to seep out into boxing now, like a poison. None of the other fighters can get opportunities because of PBC. So they're going to have to get their shit together. The sanctioning bodies, they're the ones who are going to have to start saying, look, get on with it or we're going to strip your ass. Not, oh, you make us all this money.
They're not making money with the titles sitting fucking just around getting defended once, maybe twice a year if they're lucky. So yeah, I mean they should be on side. But we'll get to that further on in the show.
Yeah. Sorry.
I definitely have something to be pissed off about. Welcoming to the show, Dominic. Dom, let me get really quick. Let me go to Andy for a moment. If Andy saw Ramirez or anything on that.
How about your craps, Molly?
Andy, did you see Ramirez or anything on that
Yeah,
Canadian card? Okay.
Yeah, I've seen all the Canadian card. To be fair, I can't really add much more to what Steve said. He's broken down pretty well. I agree with what he said about Ramirez. Looked explosive early doors. Looking at his Dino, he wasn't really doing much in terms of what he was offering back. I did think at some point he was going to get worn down, but he came into it. Definitely stretched it down the back half, and the scorecards are an absolute disgrace. You look at those cards in literally 3 years' time, we'll probably forget about the fight actually, and you'll look back and you'll say to yourself, Christ, that was an easy win, and it really wasn't. Bazinian just overpowered this guy. Again, I mentioned him before, like he needs a step up now as well. Claggett, yeah, that was okay, and again, Robio was just, I guess, a guy who was just basically fodder from. It was one of the worst cards I've seen from Eye the Tiger as well. As I agree with what Steve was saying in that regard. They need a flagship fighter. They really badly need one. They need one who is on the cusp of world level. They've got a couple of heavyweights. They're going to do it. Claggett's okay, but I don't rate him, to be a standout. Robio is well off it. At this point, Ramirez has got a very, very tiny window, and if he does get over the line, it's going to be a short title run, I would imagine. So they need someone, they need a flagship fighter, and they need dates, they need competitive fights and meaningful fights in that as well. Because I think like saying Billy against Bazinian would be ideal. It would definitely put asses in seats, but what happens after it? That's the other thing as well. So it'll be interesting. Watch this space.
Real quick, I don't know if you have this in front of you. Lamar Jackson just threw a pass that was tipped. He caught it himself and ran for the first down. It was truly fucking
Go on,
incredible.
Lamar. Love a bit of Lamar Jackson.
That was fucking incredible.
Guys, it's like playing the PlayStation, huh,
What sport's that?
Anyhow, Ricky Graville throwing 5 pounds in there. Didn't say anything. He's a man of the good book, as we all know. Very few words, all acts. A man of Christ, truly. Anyhow, Dom, we have talked about everything except for the Japanese card, so feel free to circle back to anything that you want to discuss that is not the Japanese card.
Flip, you've been going at a good rate. That's only an hour. You've got everything covered. That's impressive. That's probably because I wasn't on, Molly.
I'm all about efficiency, Dom.
Well, have we touched on the weight with Crocker and everything, all that sort of carry on?
Yeah, but please, anything from from that card or the MUNGUIA RYDER, feel free to get your piece.
I'll mention this here, Molly. I was saying this to Steve on our way home last night. I got into the venue last night, a lovely seat. It's a very intimate venue, and turned around to this guy on my left. He was on his own, and just struck up conversation with him. And I thought he looked like sort of Spanish or Central American or something. And I sort of thought, I said, I wondered, is he here to support Felix? And I said, are you from Mexico? Are you from Spain? And he says, no, I'm German. So apparently the fella, he was from Berlin. He had flown from Berlin to Dublin on his own and gone up from Dublin to Belfast just to watch the zone card in this in a small hall in Belfast. And he was so we were talking about German, but in the golden age of German boxing, the Sarlans and all the other creatures, and Andy will be happy to know he wasn't a big fan of Vinny the Doorman, but unfortunately he was a
Yeah.
fan of he was a fan of Bellew, unfortunately.
Who?
Of Bellew. I couldn't
All right.
believe. Initially, I thought he said he wasn't a fan of Bellew, and I says to him, "No, me neither. I can't stand the guy." And then he says, "No, actually, I'm a big fan of him." But it was funny actually watching. I was yards away from where
You
Bellew
should have
was.
phoned immigration after he said that comment.
It's not too late.
Yeah. No. But I was funny just watching these folk coming up to Bellew, and a lot of them are, were young kids, like teenagers or whatever, and they probably see him and doing his interviews and his videos online, or whatever, and this sort of like his personality or whatever. But it was just funny watching it, well, it was grown men as well, as I said in the chat. It was grown men approaching him,
Me?
but not you, Stephen, not you, but anyway, well, yes, on Crocker, I would like to see the fight with the guy Donovan next. Pity Rob's not on actually to see if he saw the fight, to see if he had anything to say on Donovan. But yeah, I was listening to a few interviews earlier this afternoon with Crocker and Billy Nelson, and both of them were saying that the fight was never made at 147. That when the fight was made about 4 weeks ago, Crocker said that he told Matchroom that I won't be able to make that weight. But then Crocker said they said to him, "Well, can you make 152?" And then it changed to 150. And he said at each stage he made those things, and that he agreed to rehydration stipulations and all the rest of it. But if that's the case, I would have expected Matchroom to publicise that. I mean, fans were left in the dark. I was just thinking about this earlier, Steve, Matty, and Andy, and Des, and I was thinking, do we as fans, do we not have a right to know, what the situation is with regard to?
No, you pay your money, mate. You sit down and shut your mouth, and you get what you get given, right?
You
That's
just hand over your money,
That-
and you're
just a mouth breather, mate. You just hand
You're
out
just
your money.
you're just a builder or a plasterer.
Exactly.
What's it got to do with you?
Yeah,
exactly, mate. Frank Smith told you where to go, mate. You know your place, know your role, and shut your mouth.
It's always salutary and noteworthy to be reminded of that comment from Spotty Frank.
Exactly.
I'm sort of ashamed to say that I'd forgotten all about it, but yeah, it's I would like to see the me and Steve were both in agreement. We thought they should make that Donovan fight next, but as I say, the interviews both guys during the week before the fight were both of the same theme, that neither of them was saying that they didn't want the fight, but they were both saying they would rather it down the line. And to me, the problem is nowadays everyone has to be a star. No one's allowed to fail at this level, and that's why the sport is in the state that it is. Everyone seems like there's this perception that guys that are operating at this sort of domestic level have a right to become superstars, and that's why we're not getting the fights that we should get. So it'll be a very intriguing fight. It probably wouldn't sell. It probably would struggle to sell out the Odyssey, but yeah, it's would it ever sell out the Odyssey? I don't know. I'd just like to see the fight. Again, one thing about Crocker, people talk about his power, but that guy, I'm sure you've touched on it. He's been at lightweight most of his career, and it's one thing putting down guys like that, but that doesn't mean that it's doing that to guys who are big at your own weight, and that's what we'll have to see. But yeah, it's I just hope we see the fight. Oh, I just finished watching the Ryder fight before I came on there, but I must say I was just looking at the likes of Oscar. I don't know if he's have touched on it. I was looking at Oscar and Hopkins at ringside and the way they were carrying on near the end of the fight. I thought the end of the fight was just completely bizarre. By the way, did you touch on that? just how the referee didn't seem to see what was going on.
No, yeah, that's right. Go ahead, because they
Well,
had to ring the bell in the end, which I've never seen that before.
well, they had to ring the bell because Tony Sim, the zone commentary were saying that
No, we
Tony,
touched on it. But
similar,
continue.
Sorry.
similar to Dominic Ingle in the Brooke Golovkin fight, waving the towel in the air. They don't. It's almost as if they think it's beneath them to actually throw the towel. But how the ref's got his back? Usually has his back. How's the ref going to see? But so yeah, eventually they had to flip and ring the bell to stop it. But yeah, I was impressed by Munguia, but again, I think they've matched him very. They've generally matched him very cautiously. They would have looked at Ryder after the Canelo fight, and they would have calculated that he's probably, left a good chunk of himself in the ring that night against Canelo. He's had a long, hard career, and there were when the fight was waved off, those two commentators on the zone who are really more on the other guy who are really fine, really underwhelmed, really bad commentators. They were sort of saying, "Canelo, are you watching?" But they weren't mentioning David Benavidez, which I thought was important. I think Benavidez would be too much for Munguia, but I think the fight that they should try to make is Berlanga. If Berlanga beats Paddy McCrory, I think they'll try to make that fight. And I would make Munguia a good favourite in that fight. So I think that's the route that they'll go down. Yeah, that's all I have to say, Matty.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of where Steve and I ended up. That's the fight that we saw as the most was the most easy to be made and could make money. Obviously, Puerto Rican Mexican rivalry, good style mash. And obviously, with Berlanga, you never know what's going to happen. He might bite somebody or flip out in the ring. It just, I don't know. It's must see television though. That's what I know. I'm all in for Munguia against Berlanga. Unfortunately, they'll probably make a pay-per-view, the sons of bitches.
It'll just be interesting because we've seen Berlanga punching to a certain level of opposition, and we saw Munguia troubled by Derevyanchenko, but Derevyanchenko was a middleweight. So will Berlanga, just a question, will he be able to put a dent in Munguia? Because if he can't put a dent in him, if he can't trouble him with his power, I think he would get stopped. I think he seems a bit of flat track bully, but that's what I have to say on him.
I think that that they're both too easy to be hit, but I think that Berlanga brings less of an arsenal to the table personally. Munguia has good punch out, has good selection of punches. His output is just right. He doesn't seem to overexert himself, and I think Roach is a good combination for him.
Yeah.
So
definitely, I think the last thing I'll say, Matty, just on John Ryder. When I was watching the fight there about an hour ago, I just thought to myself, just thinking on John Ryder's career, he tends to, when he's having success in a fight, it's generally when he's on an opponent's chest and working from there. And I think his problem throughout his career has been a difficulty in launching effective attacks from mid range and beyond. I think his attack seems to be quite restricted unless he's on an opponent's chest working away. I think that in the early going of that fight last night, I thought that was evident that he was unable to get much sort of going off the job, any attack at any sort of range. I think that's sort of been an Achilles heel for him at a certain level. When he's fighting likes of Billy Joe or guys like that. But we saw against Callum Smith. Callum Smith didn't have the sort of the job or the ability to fight long to stop Ryder getting on his chest, and hence Ryder had success in that fight. But I think that's been a problem for him. But far be it for me to tell any fighter to call it a day. But I think you got that sense that he might have been the last we see him in the ring last night.
Oh, definitely. I think that was not necessarily explicit, but I think it was pretty implied that he was going to keep rocking and rolling if he beat Munguia and call it a day otherwise. But we'll see what he officially announces. You kind of got to swallow that, see what they might throw at you. You don't want to turn down a really good payday because I still think he's got something left. I don't know that he's holding his punch as well as he used to, but Munguia hit him very cleanly. So, but anyways. Gonna jump on over to Japan. It was Tuesday morning at 3 o'clock for me, or 4, I don't know, some freaking ridiculous early time. And started my viewing with Artem Dalakayan taking on Seigo Akui. And I scored the fight somewhere around 116 to 112 for Dalakayan. I thought it was close, but I thought he nicked it. The judges disagreed with me. One judge scoring it the reverse that I did, one scoring at 117, 111, and the other scoring at 119, 119, or 119, 109 for Akui. Andy, did I miss something, or is this one of the most bizarre decisions that we've seen in recent memory?
Well, again, it's another week, mate. We're talking about the judges and the decisions, but we forget that card actually had a potential fight of the year candidate on it as well. But
and I thought that it was, and we'll bookend obviously, but I thought, Andy, that it was a very good boxing lesson from Dalakayan through 8 rounds, where he might have lost 1, maybe 2 rounds to the bunch in there. I don't know.
I think it's his approach at the end of the day. I think the manner how he fights, he sticks and moves, does a lot of it as a counter puncher, does a lot of moving. He fights off the ropes if he has to. I think Akui, he's come forward approach. He's clearly catching that judge's eye. You got to really slow it down to kind of catch what Dalakayan is landing, and it's not really having like an instant effect on the opponent and that. But he was frustrating him with all the movement. And Kui is just obviously just trying to cut him off and just try to cut the ring off. And I think probably doing like the last 3 rounds, I did think he was starting to tie him down a little bit more. But I agree with you. I thought Dalakayan won the fight. You go to can sometimes appreciate sometimes what these counter fighters can do, but clearly that judge just wasn't having it. 119, 109 is just an absolute disgrace. Jeremy Hayes, I think his name is. I was going through his record briefly before we started. I haven't found anything suspect so far, but let the listeners know that guy, I mean, we were talking about creating like a rogues gallery. That guy deserves to be on the list along with Massimo Ballavecchio, who I seen was refereeing again there last night, Steve.
Yep.
Who else we got?
Look at this guy. For the people that are on
look at him.
YouTube, look at him. It is like one of the most disconcerting pictures I've seen of a boxing judge ever in my life. He looks like it's a terrible pick for like a dating app. He looks like the kind of guy who would jerk off in the corner while somebody else fucks his girlfriend if he could get one.
He just looks sleek and sleazy, doesn't he, mate?
I'll have to cut that and email it to him.
Stick that in your CV. But no, he's and the other thing as well, mate. I mean, even the other cards. Who was the one? Lewis Pabon, 117, 111. What is he watching? Clearly, another in 116, 112, Real Kai Senior, who is an experienced official, by the way. He's done many world title fights, loads of world title fights. So unless he just favoured the aggressor and just basically disregarded what Dalakayan was doing, that's all it is. Either that or it's corruption. It's all it is, because like you, I think Dalakayan a few points, but 119, 109 is just outrageous, man. That is the type of decision that needs to be called out publicly, and the judge called into question and made to answer his decisions in those rounds. It's just outrageous.
Well, what doesn't make sense to me, Andy, is that it wasn't even like it was a close split decision, a majority decision. No, like nobody even had Dalakayan close to sniffing it. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know if Dom or if you or Steve saw this fight, but I'm still just baffled going back and looking at that decision. It made no sense.
I haven't seen it, Matty, yet. I'm planning to, but Steve's away. I think he's on the slash there.
Yeah, score it if you can. When you watch it, I don't know about. Oh, looks like Steve went to the restroom. I don't know if you any of you guys in the chat had a chance to watch that, but if anybody did see it and you happen to score it the other way, please let us know. Like a 115 to 113 wouldn't have entirely shocked me. I think there was a couple of swingy rounds in there, but 119 to 109, one round to the guy that I think I scored 6 of the first 8 to. Some of that, it just absolutely absurd.
It's absolutely outrageous. Like it's just a disgraceful scorecard. Three of them actually. Think about it. I mean, think about it. I mean, is there any way, shape, or possible that you could actually have a Kui winning that fight? I mean, clearly it's going to be down to the fact that the pace that he set compared to how little or often Dalakaya was landing his shots, or they were clearly where they were stationed at ringside to score that fight. They clearly when they seen the shots that Dalakaya was throwing. And I've said this before that sometimes when you're at ringside, you see a completely different fight as to how you see it on the TV. Maybe it was one of those situations. I don't know, but you can't be that bad to say as listen. I'm ringside and I'm watching that fight, and I've got the the other guy winning 119. It's just come on.
Yeah, Steve, any thoughts on Dalakayan versus Akui before we move on?
Yeah, I don't know. I heard different things about it. Yeah, I see Mr. Dermo's comment there, and to be honest with you, I went back and watched a couple of the rounds on normal speed, and Dalakayan was landing good shots, but then, and I thought to myself, yeah, this is terrible. And then for the next minute and a half, I saw the other fellow, I can't even remember, it was a Kui, was it, or something, coming forward, and then he would land a couple of pretty heavy shots, and I thought to myself, I don't know, man, maybe it's just me. So I'm not sure it was the outrage, but yeah, they were desperate to get the belt off Dalakayan, weren't they? And that guy isn't going to be long for it. I don't think he's no great shakes, old Sago. But yeah, I think it was the nature of the scorecards, the 119, 109, 117, 111. But I think it probably was a little bit closer. Dalakayan was landing a couple of decent shots and then running, and the other fella's shots were a little bit harder. So maybe that's how they came to that conclusion. But I don't know. He's been sort of on a tightrope, hasn't he, for a while, Dalakayan, since he came out of Ukraine. The Japanese were desperate for his belts, and then he had that fight with Jimenez and all. And yeah, I'll not really miss him.
I thought Jimenez had a better shout at beating him.
Yeah, that was a closer fight, actually. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but anyhow, another very close fight, and what kind of surprised people, another early candidate for Fight of the Year, potentially? Well, Kenshiro Taraji needed all 12 rounds in the scorecards to beat Carlos Canizales. My apologies, in a majority decision. One even card, 114, 112. Where are those extra 2 points, ladies and gentlemen? Well, they were deposited on the canvas with Canizales hitting the canvas in round 2 and Taraji hitting it in round 3. Some really great action in between, both guys landing big shots. I was just absolutely impressed with what Canizales was able to absorb at times. A lot of these rounds were split one half one way, the other half the other. And I think obviously Canizales had a shout to win it. Taraji, you having to just get behind the jab the last 2 rounds to find his way through it. Might have injured his right hand in that one. But my word, Andy, this was a hell of a fight.
Yeah, it was, mate. And I don't know if it will get Fight of the Year, especially with this early doors and that as well, or if it will be remembered and because it's the weight division it was in. But either ways, it was a great fight. Canizales came out quick, strong dude. Like, I mean, bloody hell, he put on a heavy kind of heavy speed in that fight and catched him with jabs, forced him to adjust really in that as well. And obviously, you mentioned he got knocked down. That was a big shot he took actually, and you could literally see the reaction to him. It instantly got the equilibrium off, and obviously he's trying to grab him round about the waist, try to do the UFC takedown or whatever it was, and then obviously Taraji's got probably a wee bit overconfident. I think it was a left hook, dropped him, stunned him, whatever it was, but. It was good action. It was two-way action. One guy would have a go, the other guy would come back with something else. It was blistering shots, close quarter action, left hooks here, uppercuts there, right hands over the top, countering that shot. It was great action. It really was. It was a set at a great pace, and I did see a couple of guys complaining about the scorecards in this fight as well because they think that maybe Canizales down the last 2 rounds possibly maybe eked them out. And that would have been enough for him to win the fight. So I think maybe a wee bit of cooking.
Well, there was open scoring, so that we knew that there was an even card after 8 rounds, and that Taraji was up 2 points on the other 2 cards. So if you split the rounds between them, you get those 114, 112s, and also the even ones. So I think all the judges split those rounds between them.
Yeah.
And I could see the last 4 being split evenly. I thought that Canizales probably won the last round because Taraji wasn't as effective with his jab in that one. But I really thought he did an exceptional job of getting behind his jab and just working around the ring in the 11th round. And,
Well,
and
that
my
was the
hand by
thing.
that
There
to him.
was talk that Kenshiro had potentially hurt his hand. Yeah, it was his right hand in the last 3 rounds. So that's why he probably never used it as much. That's why he was maybe moving about as much. I caught that after the fight actually. But so what I mentioned, Canizales. I mean, I know I forget what age he is. He must be well up there in age now. But that he gave everything. He gave absolutely everything. You could see him. He was dragging in the air. He still kept going. But the last 4. Maybe just wasn't dominant enough, I'd probably say, where he just could guarantee himself with like the all 4 rounds. He absolutely needed them. Maybe just wasn't dominant enough. I don't know, but it was. He kind of fought both guys set a blistering pace, and you wouldn't be surprised if Kenshiro's hurt his hand in that fight, especially that right hand. Because if he, as I say, when he caught him with that right hand in the second round, he visibly shifted Canizales right down to the point, whereas the reaction was just like 5-6 seconds before he actually went down. So yeah, great fight, and if they kind of get a future unification, get a rematch made, because that was sensational stuff.
I kind of get the hunch, Andy, that part of the reason why Akui got that win was so they could set up Taraji against Akui for the 112 belt.
Was that again, mate? So the 112 belt, what?
Because Akui now has the 112-pound belt, so I think they kind of slipped that him the win there. So to have Taraji versus him at 112, hunch I got. We'll see.
I don't know, mate. I mean, I think because
he wants Bomba, we know that, but
I'm also going to say because Taraji was meant to fight Gonzalez, wasn't he? The WBO champ, and he got injured or something.
And he got injured, and Olasquega came out on late notice, and that was a fun fight too. Olasquega is going to be a good fighter too.
It's never materialised, but somehow, so I think Canizales must have been in WBO mandatory, then I take it, so you must have to get some of those over the line. But yeah, a couple of fights here, mate. I just don't think there's much really from me. If he goes up to a flyweight, sorry, right? I mean, what's he going to do after that? I mean, the call's going to come to fight Jesse Rodriguez next, isn't it?
Maybe.
I don't think they would do it. I don't think they would do it, mate, at this point.
Well, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what's coming up next. But man, Taraji definitely makes for good action. Dom, your thoughts on this fight?
Dom's not interested in this, Matty. I'll jump in.
Go for it.
What is it?
The Japanese card, Dom. I'll jump in. Don't worry.
Oh, go ahead. Go on.
Yeah, Kenshiro. He's here for a good time, not a long time, isn't he? He's face first, takes a lot of shots. He's not going to be in good shape in the next 15, 20 years if he doesn't tighten up his defense. But that's all the better for us watching at home. I mean, he's the sort of third wheel of the generation. You've got Inoue, Ioka, Taraji. He's just a bit too open for me, but that makes for great fights. 32 as well, trying to make 108. He's unified champion. He's done brilliant. He's come back from that loss, and he's gone, I think, 12 defenses altogether, including now both runs. As you mentioned, Matty, the Olasquega fight, I remember that being a fun one. Laid a bit of a beating on Budler. And this one, I thought Canizales probably just about nicked it. Whenever Taraji knocked him down early, I thought, right, it's going to be over pretty quickly, this. And then Canizales came back, dropped him, and then I thought Canizales won the last 2 rounds, and the fact they give it to Taraji, Kenshiro, to sort of swing the bout was a bit of a dodgy one. That Jeremy Hayes had it even, the Korean guy had it 2 points to Kenshiro, and then Omar Minton Senior, he's been around the scene for a long time, had it 2 points as well. But yeah, make the rematch, I think. As for the undercard, I've spoken about Delakian. I just want to give a quick shout out as well to Tenshin Nasukawa, who we mentioned last week. I thought this guy was a bit of a joke. Fought Floyd in the exhibition, came over from UFC or MMA or one of those. And I thought, he's a bit of a novelty act. Went in against this Robles Pacheco, who's never been stopped before.
Yeah, he chucked it.
I thought Nasukawa, from a technical standpoint, I thought he looked pretty good. I mean, the jab was working. He was very fast. He was landing good shots from all angles. I thought as a technical boxer, he looked excellent, really, from the low expectations I had of him, Andy.
Well, I mentioned it last week, mate. He's taking it seriously. I mean, obviously, he was I think it was K1 he was involved in. I was looking back. I'm sure it was K1 boxing, so he's got a bit of ground in it. But yeah, you're right. He's working on the footwork. Certainly, the combination punches looking very crisp at this point in that as well. So, watch his space. It'll be interesting to see if they maybe try and get him into regional title fights within the next 3 or 4 fights, because that's generally the route those guys generally take. I would imagine they'll try, because if you look at the records of these last 2 fighters, I'm sure he's faced, I think they've been coming in off, like, say, a few wins. So it's not been losing records. They've been coming in, you know. So, but I did think that guy kind of chucked it. He was kind of like, you know, I think he was shouting to the crowd at that point. And that, this guy's kind of swallowed it a little bit here, blaming his ankle, whatever it was, and that. So, but I'd be interested to see how far he goes. But yeah, watch his space.
Right. Join us also, Rob Kelly. Rob, did you catch any of the Japanese card? If not, I'll catch up with you in a couple.
I didn't catch the fucking Japanese card. No. Who was on it?
Kenshiro Taraji.
Oh, no, I didn't, unfortunately.
Christ.
Come back to me.
I will. So, all right, Dom. So why don't you go ahead and tell Rob about the Fight of the Year candidate he missed?
Which fight was this?
Taraji versus Canizales.
Seen it, Matthew. I tried to save him once, and you've gone back in on him again. He hasn't seen any of it.
Me and Rob are in the same boat.
I tell you what, I thought I was going to casual status by the way, but Rob and Dominic have just elevated me a little bit higher to kind of like hardcore again, hardcore casual. That's what
I'm lost. I'm long since entered the domain of casual status.
Hey to Dave.
Aye.
I'm hardcore, but I don't know what it is. I'm hardcore into it, you know that way.
90s French porn, Roberto.
We're like battered spouses. That's what we are.
I don't even know why we do this someday, Steve. I don't even know.
It's not us, it's the sports. Wait till fucking His Excellency gets shit rolling. We'll be back.
That's what I'm saying, mate. We need to. Well, obviously, it'll be almost 4 weeks now till we usually get against Fury. Is it 4 weeks?
We've got Stockholm syndrome now. That's the problem. There's no way.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, Steve, when Rob mentioned HE, you know, we'll probably won't get to see Crocker Donovan unless HE steps in, will we?
Oh, that's true. Actually,
we're missing Uncle Dan though. We are, eh?
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think, Rob? Crocker Donovan in Saudi. What about that?
What a crock of shit.
I think it'll be I think if we're covering it over there, it's going to be one of the best fights of all time. Highly anticipated.
His Excellency needs to get us involved, like, you know.
That's what I'm trying to say. We're trying to fucking use all our connections that we don't have any of.
We're the last people His Excellency needs, Rob.
We're the people that he doesn't know he needs, Steve.
We'll wrap this up here real quick, and then we'll get back to Rob here. But yeah, that was definitely a Fight of the Year candidate between Kenshiro Taraji and Carlos Canizales. Absolute blistering action throughout the fight. Ebbs and flows, both men touching the canvas. Some really good rounds in the middle there. I think 7 and 8 might have just been bangers. I'm trying to recall exactly, but that one gonna have to write that one down and review it, because I don't know. My opinion at this point in time, I think that one might have overtaken Sanchez Maloney, but we have been blessed these last couple of weeks with some exceptional fights. So Rob, why don't you tell us about the less interesting fights that you watched this week?
Bad week for friends of the pod, Tommy McCarthy and John Ryder getting stopped. Kind of expected both, to be honest with you. Tommy looked like he was be brought in as an opponent. I'd say that's probably his last fight. I'd say, I don't know if he's announced it yet. Maybe it's not. But I wouldn't be surprised if he hangs him up. The Crocker fight, I'm sure you covered that. Like, it was a good knockout in that, but he was how many pounds heavier? It was big lad against the guy. And was that a replacement fight? It was a replacement opponent, rather. The lad from Sinaloa.
No, I don't think so.
It was always going to be him, Rob. But do you know what happened with the weight?
No.
Crocker came out in an interview today and said that it was never. He told them a month ago when the fight was made that he would never be able to make 147 and they said, Matchroom, this is 152, and then he said yes, and then it changed to 150, and then
right, okay.
so it was one of those. But bottom line, public we were never made aware of it.
Saying that, like, does he operate at 147 always, or is he?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he looks big at the weight. Like, I don't know. Like, world level at 47 is kind of open at the moment with Crawford going north. Does he fucking beat a Boots Ennis, that kind of guy, or a guy
He's a long way. Listen, I'm a fan of him, but I have to be honest, he's a long way from. Billy Nelson was talking about getting him into a status of fighting for an eliminator at the end of the year. But to me, like, you haven't even what happened to the old tried and tested method of proving yourself, above everything else.
That's out the window with the
He
networks.
needs to make weight first, though, before he can prove anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And
He looks a big boy. Yeah, he looks a big boy. He looks like he could go to 54. But listen, I don't know too much about. I know he's highly touted or whatever over here. I don't know too much about him. I watched him last night. He looked okay. The fella from Sinaloa was smiling beforehand. That's always an ominous sign. I'm looking at these Mexican lads when they come over laughing. That generally doesn't end up well for the fucking home fighter. Like, but big shot. I thought the ref kind of was a bit. Magnanimous to him in the first knockdown. I thought he could have stopped it. It looked like he didn't want to beat the count at all. Like, and then the punch to finish it was a clinical shot. But it is what it is. He moves on. I wait and see how he develops. Donovan with a good win last night as well, and a good statement. I think he looks the real deal. I like him. That's his nickname, isn't it? But yeah, he looks the real deal. Good shot selection always. Good bit of power. Like to see him tested now as he goes on. But a good statement from him. And then over in Arizona, I kind of expected that for John Ryder, to be honest with you. I thought maybe took a bit of a shelling in the Canelo fight, although he's a hard bastard. Like, he's not going to, he's up and down. Like, every time he got dropped, he was right back up. He was hanging in there. He was trying to do, but he just couldn't do nothing with Munguia. Too big, too strong. Dave Lee made a good point in our chat. Munguia, I thought, look, like, I know he gets a lot of kind of detractors from me, basically. I've been a Munguia detractor a lot of the time because there's a lot of hype about him. He's kind of a WBC golden boy. He's had the nod in a couple of dodgy decisions, but he's had fucking 42 fights as well. Another kind of teenage fella who's come through from Mexico, active all the time, fought. So I kind of expected him. I don't know, with the size and everything, I kind of expected him to stop Ryder last night, and I'd say that's probably the end for John Ryder, unless he has a homecoming fight in London or something where he wants to say goodbye. But he's made his money now, hasn't he? Like, and he kind of. The sad thing about Ryder is that he never picked up a trinket. I think there's lesser fighters from Britain, even in his division, who've gone on to be world champion. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. Sometimes it just doesn't work like that for you. But what I like about Ryder is we spoke about it all the time. He always gave us time on the pod. And when the odds were against him, he upset the apple cart more than once, like, and earned his shot at big money paydays. So good for him. Bad that he goes out like that. I thought the decision from the corner to pull him out was right. You don't have to have him getting shelled for another 3 rounds. He wasn't in the fight. So I'd like to see Munguia fight Berlanga and Benavidez fight Canelo, and then the winners come together. I don't want to see Benavidez fight anybody else apart from Canelo. If he does have to fight anybody else apart from Canelo, why not Munguia? But I'd like to see Munguia Berlanga and Canelo Benavidez next, and then have the outright king of the 68-pounders.
Well, from your mouth to God's ears, Rob. So that was the week of boxing in review, and what a week. Here we are, almost 2 hours in. I'd like to thank people in the chat. Mr. Dir Mohammed, Michael Thompson, M. Lithgow, let's see here, Abdul Rahim, Daniel Ford Lother, Johnny Nang, MB in there. Let's see, Mark Stanton, and let's go with John Trounson. All right. Thank you very much to you, and anybody I missed, I do apologize. Just got to keep moving along here. Steve said there's a couple of comments in here as well. Thomas Smith said, Hearn had a good night. Everyone did what they were supposed to do. Particularly nice to see Chef Clark step up, though I had no interest in watching Crocker bully an underweight opponent, then celebrate like he'd won an F1 Grand Prix in Monaco. Felt myself rooting for Felix, to be honest. As far as Ryder, Matt Christie said before the fight that Canelo in his hometown had really brought out the gorilla in him, but Munguia might be harder to get up for. It certainly looked the case, as Ryder only really had successes when Munguia took time off. He didn't box badly. Ryder did what Ryder does, but he looked doomed from first round. Munguia ate everything that landed flesh, hit harder and faster, and was consistently bouncing. It must have been dispiriting when to survive you had to really push him back, but getting close to him was nigh on impossible. Would like to see Munguia versus Benavidez next, and the winner fight Canelo. Thanks for that, Thomas. Marcus Bellinger. Hey lads, hope all is well. Just a few fighters to look out for in the pro and amateur ranks. Featherweight Kenji Fujita moved to 6-0 yesterday, capturing his first title and is a real classy operator. Expect him and Hayato Tsutsumi to be in the featherweight makes in the near future, and Japanese champion Kaisuke Matsumoto has progressed nicely so far. In the amateur code, GBS super heavyweight Delicious One will I'm sure receive a lot of attention. In a loaded light heavyweight division, Callum Peters looks to be the next talent from Australia, and Jamal Harvey and Abdulmalik Kalakov could be a classic final matchup at featherweight in Paris. Last but not least, just for Maddie and Chicks with Dig, if she wins Olympic gold, Nikat Zareen will be an absolute superstar. Oh, thanks. Right on. Keep up the good work. Cheers, Marcus. Right on. Thank you for those guys. Do appreciate that very much.
He's wrote that himself, hasn't he, Matty? That's about Chicks with Digs. He wrote that part himself.
Tip-exting.
We're telling you, Rob, we're going to be global. Going to be global.
Who run the world?
WBO Global title.
I don't know, Rob. Who does run the world?
Listen, that's another podcast.
It's a quiet week.
Nah, there's a few things going on here. Let's see here. On Wednesday,
actually.
On Wednesday, we're gonna have a pro box card. Going to be headlined by Angelo Leo against Mike Planny. A nice fight there. Romero Duno, 26-3, taking on Antonio Moran, 29-6-1. Christopher Pearson, 17-3-1, taking on the undefeated 27-0 Trevor McCumbee. Interesting box rec to look at if you check that out.
Good card.
So yeah, absolutely a decent card from Pro Box this Wednesday. Looking forward to that one 100%. Let's see here. Then we're gonna have a card on Friday from Orlando, still in Florida. Ashton Silva taking on Estevan Falco. Orestes Velasquez taking on Julian Smith. Going to have Marciela Canejo taking on Candy Wyatt. Look at that, coming stateside. Going to have one of the LeBrons, Luis LeBron, taking on Giovanni Gutierrez. And I don't know if this one's going to be on there, but we have an undefeated fight between Benigno Aguilar and Corey Marksman. Could be a nice little 6-rounder on there. Ashton Silva, obviously the one to look out for there. And then Saturday on Sky, I think I don't know. I think this one might end up somewhere here stateside. I'm gonna have Dan Aziz against Joshua Buatsi. We'll get to that one. Adam Azim against Enoch Paulson, both undefeated there. Caroline Dubois defending her IBO belt against Miranda Reyes. Ben Whitaker on there against someone.
I thought you said Adam Aziz versus Enoch Powellson. I said, Jesus Christ,
you beat my tit, Rob.
Must be old enough making his debut.
Beat my tit, Rob.
I wonder what kind of crowd he's going to bring with him.
Anyhow, so this is what we have to look forward to on Saturday.
This is it.
CONOR BENN as well, Matty.
We're gonna get to that. We'll get to that too. But Aziz against Buatsi. I think folks are generally excited for that one. Dom, why don't you give us your thoughts?
I've been looking forward to this for a good while, Matty. I think Buatsi can afford a loss a lot less than Aziz. I could see Aziz taking an L and coming back, whereas Buatsi, given how little momentum he's had, I think it's really imperative for him that he wins. It's a hard one to call. I mean, I would probably give Buatsi an edge on points. I can't really see him stopping Aziz. But I will go for Buatsi on points in a sort of 7 rounds to 5 type of fight, which could justify a rematch. Wouldn't be surprised if we see more than one of them, but I'll go for BUATSI tentatively on points. But I think he really needs to win. If he doesn't win, it's you'd have to ask where does he go from a defeat?
Yeah, where does either guy go from a defeat? Rob, your thoughts on the fight?
I feel like it should be a bigger British fight than it is because Shalom and Boxer don't know what the fuck they're doing. For guys that have kind of all the access on Sky, it's really been a cut and paste copy job over minus Bean, hasn't it? Like they've kept all the same old fucking goons in charge. So you got Johnny Nelson, you got Woolhouse, you've got fucking whoever the fuck else is in there. It's a bit. Macklin, of course, is
he survived, man.
The Teflon Don Macklin, who's not going anywhere. Caldwell. I just feel like with their access to Sky, they should be hyping this fight as a bigger fight. Now, I get it, the two guys are not like massive draws or whatever. Dan Aziz, I don't know if he's getting plus or minus points from me for showing up to the face-off in the Marvin Hagler sunglasses with the fucking war cap as well to go with it. Like, he's definitely given his intentions. Is this going to be the British version of Hagler Hearns? This is the kind of shit that Eddie would have been spouting about. Do you know what I mean? Adam and all them. They would have been they would have been hyping this shit up, but nobody seems to care about this fight. The story between the two of them are friends. It could have been the light heavyweight version of.
It better be that type of fight, by the way. Too friendly, like it better be fucking straight on it.
No, I think they'll go for it, but I think obviously they'll go for it. I think, but like it could have been like the light heavyweight version of AJ versus Dillian White. You get me? Like where Aziz can do enough in the fight to win the fans over and do enough in the build up to put himself back in the frame for big fights. Like you get me? When they're leveraging the platform that big, I just feel like the contest should be a bigger event. But onto the fight, I think BUATSI has his number. I think it'll be a shutout. Actually, I think it'll be I think BUATSI will win wide on the cards. It's not going to be a stoppage. I just think he'll box Aziz. I don't think this fight's going to catch fire. Now I could be wrong. I just don't think it's going to be catch fire. I think BUATSI will cruise to a points decision.
All right. So two go in that direction. One thing's close, one thing's wide. Andy, your thoughts on Aziz versus BUATSI? Aziz paying I think 5 to 2-ish as an underdog.
Underdog is it? It's a shame actually because we talk about the traditional route and he's went and done it. He's even on the road and won that European title, which I don't know if he still holds actually. Because it's not on the line for this fight that I know of, so maybe he's vacated it. Yeah, it should be a good scrap. I think the pressure is on BUATSI. For me, at least, anyway. I mean, obviously, as I say, you've got Aziz, who's obviously won those 3 titles. I just think with BUATSI, he's still got a lot to prove in me. It's just a kind of flatter to deceive, and this would be a good statement of intent if he was to actually come out here and actually go for it and stop the guy if he was to do that. Aziz is a strong guy. I don't expect him to be stopped. He is. Is he still with? Who was he with? Buddy McGirt. He was with Buddy, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, I think he was. Yeah.
I think he's still with Buddy. Do you know that, Dom?
I think he is. Yes. And that's surprising because I had assumed for a while that he was with Gary Logan. Who used to work with the Dark Lord. Now I don't know whether Logan is just managing him now, but he was training him for a while, and I hadn't picked up that he had gone to McGirt. But yes, he is with McGirt.
Yeah. So, I'm probably going with what Rob was saying as well. I think BUATSI probably shades it, but I think it will be a closer fight than expected. I think Aziz will have moments where he's boxing well. I just don't think he's maybe got the crack, actually, to be fair. You just never know. You just never know, though. As I say, he's a bigger guy. But BUATSI, I just think maybe he's getting slightly fresher. And I'm hoping at some point he's going to put it all together, and maybe this might be his time. We'll wait and see.
All right. Steve, I'll give you final thoughts on this fight and also anything you might have to say on the undercard.
Yes, thank you, Matty. First of all, on the television situation, I think you'll be able to see it if you get Peacock. I believe they have a deal with Sky Sports, if that sounds like something that would
I do have the Peacock.
Yes.
I'm currently using it to watch Ted the series. I love that fucking talking bear, Steve. 11.
Fantastic. Well, that's good. You'll be able to watch Buatsi Aziz hopefully on that. Andy said about the pressure being on Buatsi. It is, and so should it be as well. This is a guy who's flattered to deceive. He should have stepped up a long time before. Been fighting the likes of Richards and Aziz, with all due respect, a long time ago. He had the split from Eddie. It hasn't worked out for him on any level. This fight should be bigger. Again, as Rob said, it's a good fight. It should be hyped up to the nines. Aziz should win if life is fair, but it isn't, unfortunately. He's a good, solid guy. He's going the Marvin Hagler route with the glasses and the shorts and the shtick, but he hasn't got the Hagler class, unfortunately, in the ring regarding his skill set. He is an honest guy who's going to come forward and put the pressure on Buatsi and make it difficult for him, very similar to Craig Richards. But Buatsi, I think, if he's on point, he's fit and firing, he's going to have that extra bit of class, that extra bit of guile as well, and he's going to get the job done on points. He'll probably pull away down the stretch. And Aziz will end up with a bloody mouth or a bloodied nose, but he'll be unbowed, and Buatsi moves on to the next level. Also, we think, probably not. Who knows who he'll fight next? I don't know. Maybe Frank Buglione, he'll come out of retirement. But yeah, Buatsi on points for me.
It's easy after having a phone call already off Shalom.
He could do our stoppage when actually just to kind of boost that profile a wee bit and do it well.
Be a nice statement, Andy, if you stopped him. It would be a really good statement.
It would be, mate. I mean, see, I've got a lot of respect for Aziz, to be fair. I mean, as I say, if Desnap was on the call, he probably would be saying the same thing. I mean, he's come along.
Honest pro.
Mm-hmm. Aye. He went, okay, vacant titles, all that type of stuff, but at the same time, as he's took his chances, a bit like Bellew, and this is his chance. I realise he's 34, so it really, you can't do it. And Buatsi's in spring chicken. What is he, 30, 31? Both guys knew at a crossroads. As I says, Buatsi's really going to win this.
Mm-hmm. Matty, just a quick word on the undercard. I mentioned this before, but I'm definitely pulling for Enoch Pelson. He's 14-0 with 5 knockouts from Zambia. He has pretty much no chance. He's won the European title a couple of times, vacant titles, and he's had to drop them because of injury in the past. But he went the distance with Frank Petitjean. He beat him very narrowly by a point on 2 of the cards. And as fight fans will know, Adam Mazin battered Petitjean for the European title. So there's levels to this. But I am a fan of Paulson because when they brought him in the ring after the Azim Petitjean fight, he says, "Where's the ring card girls at?" And then Sky's reporter had to quickly scurry to try and cover up that.
That's so we don't do that anymore. That one, eh? Where the chicks, babe.
So we're fans here of Enoch Paulson, anyway.
What an absolute player, by the way. Absolute.
That's
player.
like homeboy that fucking knocked out David Price and said he was going to go home and put his wife in a wheelchair. Break my wife's back. Y'all going to put that bitch in a wheelchair.
She'd be crippled. She'd be in a wheelchair in the morning to have some sex. She might be crippled in the morning.
Someone in the chat said. Someone in the chat said as well, fucking that Buatsi has said he's on a sex ban, so that means every time they say that they lose. That's a lie. They're just saying that to the missus. Like, the winner in camp. Yeah, baby, I'm on a sex ban. Hold on.
Yeah, so Team Paulson definitely, Matty. He hasn't got the no swearing or the player of the match memo. Unfortunately, he came with a bit of inappropriate content.
Player of the match.
Hopefully, the ring card girls get a heads up and they beware.
He's packing that African black mamba.
Yo, I'm starting to think, was I progressive or old school when I was coaching under 11s and some of the girls we were playing, I'd be telling the boys, "Mark your man." I don't know if I was being progressive or not. Could have been ahead of my time.
I think you could have been.
It's all rather regressive now, isn't it? Anyhow, so that card will be on Saturday evening for y'all, Saturday afternoon stateside. But if you're looking for something on Sunday morning, well, I tell you what, 60 years ago, there was a British invasion which changed music forever. I think
a lot of British invasions changed a lot of shit forever.
This is
go back hundreds of years with that one, mate.
Well, this might be among the worst. This might be among the worst of the British invasions. Live from the Cosmopolitan in Vegas, you're going to have Conor Benn and Peter Dobson and Johnny Fisher.
Oh, Johnny Fisher.
On the card as well against
Peter Dobson.
Jesus.
Where have they got this opponent from?
Did you see Ozzy's WhatsApps earlier on there? That big.
By the way,
sending the wife
Ozzy's missus know who he is, by the way? Does Ozzy's missus know who she's fucking getting married to? He said today in the group chat, I just told the missus about John Fisher. The cut's been on the pod for the last fucking year bashing John Fisher. His missus doesn't even know who John Fisher is. He's living a double life, man.
Double life.
My girlfriend knows who John Fisher is, so that's frightening.
Oh God.
They communicate so well. Anyhow,
She
so
called
this
him inappropriate. Apparently, was the language used.
oh word.
Put that mildly.
Also going to have Austin Ammo Williams on the card against TBA as to this point in time. Going to have 7-0-1 Khalil Ko going in against 20-0 Juan Gerardo Asuna. And also George Littard, George Littard undefeated 5 wins against Andrew Buchanan, 3-0-1, a middleweight contest. I don't know a whole lot about Dobson. Can anyone here fill me in?
Yeah, I've seen it a wee bit before. I don't know if Steve has.
Looks a bit slow, Andy, doesn't he?
He does.
He's undefeated. What you're going to understand, guys, is he's an undefeated fighter. He's 34 years of age and he's 16-0. So he turned pro at about fucking 28. Did he? What the fucking? He has some massive names on his record. In that they all have 3 names. So he's beaten Carlos Winston Velasquez, Jose Miguel Borrega, and fucking Rodrigo Damian Correa. So he's got good pedigree coming into this fight. I'm expecting a big upset. I don't know about you guys.
I really think it's going to be Ben trying to hunt this guy down. He's a bit of a counter puncher, to be fair. So there's a lot of movement. Seems to have a bit of sneaky right hand, to be fair. So I don't know about.
I hope it's the fucking sneakiest right hand in history. I hope it's the fucking sneakiest of all time. I hope he fucking. Oh my God, I would love it.
Some of the fights, as I say, it was just brief highlights that I seen. He can throw a right hand quite sneakily, and they can maybe like just stun a fighter, maybe just catch him unawares. Steve's right; he does look very slow though, but natural counter fighter. So Ben's probably got to go hunting for him. Might be tough enough to see it out to the end because I forget who it was actually giving them some props. I don't know if it was Paulie, so I don't know if that's a kiss of death actually. If you want to talk about that, but had a bit of an amateur career as well, from what I understand, and he's been fighting pro and other type of combat fights. So don't know, but Ben, I don't even know what weight this is actually. To be fair, but Ben, I have the interest, mate. Unless I wake up Sunday morning and someone tells me he got iced, that's the only time I'm interested. I'll watch a fight or watch a highlights possibly if it's 12 rounds. Don't expect me to be breaking it down unless Conor Benn gets knocked out. That's when I'm on top of my game. That's when it will be happening.
Yeah, he's going to be cannon fodder, isn't he, for Ben? Like, he's brought in here as a fucking they have to keep the possibility of the Eubank fight going, and it's probably going to happen in Saudi, isn't it? Like,
I'm not thinking he's going to walk in there and blast him out of there. I think it'll be a bit of a long night, to be fair. Maybe it's a late stoppage, but I wouldn't be surprised to see he go the distance.
You know, Dobson has a few undefeated names on his record that he faced. I don't know if any of them went and did anything beyond it. He doesn't seem like he's entirely without talent.
I don't think he's fought anybody that's had over 20 fights, has he?
Yeah, as you said, mate, he's turned pro kind of late in life and that as well. You know, 2014, not really been active. I mean, that's a decade now. Just about he's been a pro.
Oh, shit, man, he's like Van Wilder in college, and then he just decided to turn pro. He's fucking.
He hasn't fought since Rob. He hasn't fought since June 2022, man. He's on the couch 18 months.
For fuck's sake, we're bringing him. He must have fucking thought all his Christmases have come together. There's a reason this fucker hasn't fought for fucking 2 years.
He's been waiting for the shot.
Jesus Christ!
Life changing money, Cougs.
Ames has mentioned that thing as well, that combat league. I've noticed that before. You fight one round, don't you? And if you win, you go on to fight someone else in a round. It's the oddest thing. Like,
I really wish they would have brought the prize fighter format to the heart of Mexico and just let all the fucking club fighters fight each other on a knife for the bread. Like, I think that would have been amazing.
Just hope the bullfights, you stick them in there instead.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, Ames is right. He's been fighting in that combat league thing, but he's barely been active. I suppose if you tot up the rounds, it's what, 20 rounds?
Yeah, I think he's been fighting there, mate. I think he's been fighting there for the last year, though, to be fair, rather than fighting pro fights.
He's been in the gym doing bits.
Yeah, I suppose, but it's no fighting in.
Definitely, like, you know, the guy who's calling for Terence Crawford Keith Thurman, Jerome Boots Ennis. That's the kind of guys you need to get on the way up. You know what I mean? The Peter Dobsons, the lads who were in the Combat League for the last year. That's going to prepare you nicely for Boots Ennis.
Evans Crawford, Boots Ennis, man. I would love, something. It would be great to see that fight. Ennis against Ben. That would be
never happening.
Eddie's
got him on a fucking. Just go say everyone's name, man. Say everyone's name. It don't matter because you're not fighting them anyway. Go on, fucking call out everybody.
But just for once, I would love for Boots just to come out and just say it. Okay, mate. This 500 grand. Didn't you come?
Chance to be a world champion now.
Yeah.
Boots is upgraded, isn't he? So
you talk the talk now. It's time to walk the walk.
He's never going to fight Boots Ennis. Fucking Boots Ennis would fucking send him out zipped up in a bag. I don't mean to be morbid like about boxing, but that's fucking Boots Ennis would kill Conor Benn. Kill him.
I'll tell you that. Yeah, we wish him the absolute best. I don't know that his opponent is without a chance in this fight. We shall see. The fight between Khalil Ko and Juan Gerardo Osuna, that could actually be interesting because you just don't know. You look at his glossy record of Osuna, and he hasn't really fought anyone, but he's also only 23 years old. He's still a young guy. So that battle between undefeated light heavyweights, that could actually end up being interesting, or it could end up being junk. We shall see. Though you never know about a 20-0 Mexican; they could be many things. So
a lot of them are.
So why not? You can be anything you want to be. But anyhow, I think that is all we have for this week on this end of things. So, Steve, if you want to rock and roll, I think we can do the Bellew of the Week.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Matty. Bellew of the Week for episode, what are we on now? 557. Fairly going through them. Matty's here, Dominic's here, Rob's here, Andy's here, me, Steve. What should we play us in with this week? Let's have a look and see if we can find an old classic. AB, we haven't heard much from AB lately. Let's play his post-fight interview. Just spotted it sitting there, just waiting for us.
Was it everything you wanted and needed?
It wasn't everything it was everything I wanted, but it wasn't everything I needed. Right now, I need some pussy.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God.
Okay. All right, before we get to that, who do you want next in the ring?
TMI.
Hey, man, listen, man. This is my first time on Don King pay-per-view, so I got to give it to y'all. Anybody can get it. Africans, Americans, Dominicans. No disrespect to no law firm out there, but attorney just got it. Anybody can get it.
Is there nobody special that you like that you're asking for or looking for? Anyone with the title?
Anybody with the title. I see, what's his name? Romelo? Retardo? What's his name? Roly. Oh, Roly. Shit. I like the winner of Teofimo and Josh Taylor. And whoever else got the belt. I want all the belts. I don't just want a Louis belt or Gucci belt. I want the WBA belt and WBO belt, WBC belt and IBF belt too.
Don, what do you have in mind for our young man, Adrian Broner? What do you have in mind? What's next for him?
Well, right now, there's this guy named Oscar De La Hoya. He sent out a waiver, and he wants to meet with us. We're going to talk about it.
Nah, let him know. If he want to come over here, we got a fish net for him.
Okay, we got whatever he say. That's whatever he say, because we're the problem here, man. Hey, Oscar, you heard what he said. You know what I mean?
Come over here, get that fish net, and I'm going to kick whoever asked you put in the ring with me.
All righty.
Alrighty. Yes, indeed.
My car crash, man.
Don King. This is my first time on Don King pay-per-view. Let me hazard a guess that it's going to be your last time on Don King pay-per-view as well.
Oh man, he has washed out again. I seen, man. Jesus
Poor Boom
Christ.
Boom Mancini in at the deep end there, wasn't he? Like he wasn't expecting pussy to be on the list of possible assets, was he? He was like, oh shit.
Can you remember what fight it was when Bruno walked out with the side piece? What fight was it again? And I'll never forget the reaction.
Paulie.
No, that wasn't the Paulie fight. No. It was like it wasn't this. It was after someone's fight, and he walked out with this hood rat was his side piece, right? It was absolutely horrific. Right? I remember it was like he was on the cash app, and he's in the back seat scanning her out. Right?
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Remember that? Oh, the
The
scariest
lady,
looking
the
thing you
lady in
ever
question put
imagine.
out a tweet and said, "I just got ate out by Adrian Broner in a limo." He a demon. Horny face emoji. She put out. So you know what I mean. Pound for pound, he's still at the top of the pound for pound some list somewhere. Broner. Shout out to all the side pieces. We wish them well.
Yes.
all these years later, and it's like, I just got ate out by Adrian Broner in the back of a van. Brownie face.
Not even his van.
But slipping a tongue here in this shite, man. Jesus.
oh gosh, how do you follow that? There's Alan Picasso, Matty.
Fuck.
With an intimidating ring attire.
Who the fuck is that?
That's Alan Picasso.
Did he steal that from an 8-year-old birthday party?
That's not the painter's son, is it? Or grandson or something, is it?
Certainly got an abstract looking face.
I'm not sure what he was thinking there.
Like that quiff as well, by the way, of that.
He could fight, well, for the first 4 rounds anyway.
Think he stopped?
No, he fought that Ruiz, didn't he? And then he got his rib busted, and he's talented. He's a talented kid.
He looks in that clip like he's about to pass a message across a restaurant or something, doesn't he? Sorry.
A photo opportunity or something.
Hi, Alan Picasso sounds like a character out of Toast of London, says Michael Thompson. He does. He does indeed. Let's see what else we've got here. Not too many tonight. Jaime, he's getting stuck in on Conor on the big fight week. He says Conor Benn is judged to a different standard to other boxers. Miller was a walking, talking pharmacy, yet nobody asked him a thing about it when he was fighting Dubois. Regardless of if people believe Conor or not, Andy, there is definitely an agenda against him coming from you.
There's not. I'll tell you why. Because Miller said, I did that shit. Sorry, I got caught. I did it. I'm gonna have to take the ban. Sorry, I don't know what I did. First he said I didn't do it, and then he popped off for about 9 other substances, and then he was like, "All right, you got me." But Conor Benn, you know what I always say about anybody, right? My friends or anything. I would rather someone try to take fucking €20 out of my wallet than tell me lies. Like, and Conor Benn, liabilities, man. He lied the whole way through that fucking thing with his dossier, his Piers Morgan fucking speech, his bullshit. He forced on us, like the boxing public, like trying to fucking protest his innocence. Him and Baumgartner, by the way, fucking holding their own court of appeals and everything. Like, he's a fucking asshole. It's nothing to do with him being judged of another standard. It's his own fault. Like,
and he's now cutting about telling us and anybody that listened to him that he's cleared. Cleared by who? By what? And for what, actually?
Fucking turning up at fucking events, Katie Taylor events and all, giving Kell Brook aggro. Would you fucking say, like, Kell Brook was a great fighter, man. Like, whatever the fuck people say about him, whatever, he was a good fighter. Like, and he was a genuine, legit world champion, like a world-class fighter in his day. And Conor Benn, like, has fucking, do you know what I mean? Like, with the nerve of this guy, like, fucking sitting on the sidelines because he's fucking popped hot. And he's going around like the world has an agenda against him. No, nobody was thinking about this motherfucker before. We were kind of warming to him up until this point. Like, and then when he popped and then he went on his fucking PR campaign, that's when he turned every single neutral person in the sport against him. Like, he's an asshole.
I know where he's gone wrong, Rob. He hasn't got the legal advice of MJP yet. That's the problem.
She would have got him out of trouble. Serafina, that's what we needed in this conversation. She would have just thrown him under the bus like Big Davey Miller and like, fuck him.
Good old Sarah. Talking to Kell Brook, actually, he was brought up in an Eddie. Eddie was being interviewed on IFL, and Jet Wash for you says rips into Thurman being out the ring, but he's looking for a weekend bender to fight Ben. And Grey Loach says Kelly's a 7-day bender.
No, I'm not doing it. I'll tell you after. A fucking unbelievable joke. I have an unbelievable joke, but I can't. We'll be bombed forever after the pod.
He was on with Simon Jordan there during the week. Then you didn't see any of it all day?
No, I haven't seen it, no.
No, I didn't watch any of the interviews, man. Fucking hell,
no,
man.
Kell was. I think
Kell was.
It come up on my YouTube recommended.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I had to delete that immediately. Did you watch it, Dominic?
I did, actually. I watched the whole thing. I think I watched it the other day, but it's funny. Jordan asked him about the, all the famous incidents and or infamous incidents, I should say. And it's funny whenever
smoking beef.
it's just funny the way Brooke, the way he I was always a fan of him and had sympathy for him, but Jordan was just pointing out to him like time and time again the trend is that you're just in the wrong company all the time. And did you watch it, Rob?
No, I put the joke in the chat.
Fuck's sake.
Just as well you didn't put it in the main chat. Oh man, you have to be on the Patreon for that one.
Oh, fuck me.
Get on there too. Suffice to say, we're not going to watch.
I remember the days you used to be able to tell that in the workplace.
I would fear a comeback day, man. You're actually watching over your shoulder to make sure they fucking. Did I tell that fucker that joke?
Now we get cancelled like Enoch Paulson.
Now in Ireland, in a few months, I can go to jail for 5 years just for having it on my phone. So fucking make the best of it while I'm here, lads.
Oh dear. Rick Glazer, a week doesn't go by when Rick's not nominated. David Palmer getting stuck in this time. Rick says, my business day has already started. Haven't accomplished anything yet, but I won't accomplish anything if I'm not trying. I'm trying hard. GlazerBoxing.com since 1991. They are, Matty. Before the internet was even around. Hashtag boxing 24/7 365.
GlazerBoxing.com since 1991. Brilliant. Shameless
pioneer.
Is anybody check to see if he's actually got a website? Go and check it.
He
right
has.
now.
I checked it. It's actually kitted out quite well, actually.
Is it?
I wonder where he got the funding for that from.
So what does he do then, mate? Have you figured out what he does? Or is it just
Let me tell you, Andrew. Here, in fact, let me see if I'll be able to screen share it and we can go through it together. Let me see. Share
screen. I love this story time.
Here we go. Share screen. Rick Glazer, boxing promoter. Right. Can everybody see that? Okay. Hang on. Let me get rid of David Palmer. There we are. Right.
Agent, broker, and consultant. Right. Okay.
Consultant, yeah. Contact Rick. Well, there he is.
So what does he do?
It says, thank you for your interest and for clicking on our completely revised website. Corporate partner. Clients have included promoters, managers, fighters, casinos, networks. Providing a vast array of services. Still hasn't said what he does.
It looks like he wants to sell me a timeshare.
907-7400.
There's no compensation if I don't succeed in what's been asked of me to accomplish. It's that simple. Sounds like a bit of a T-boy, doesn't it? No offense, Rick.
Does he pay for his drinks or does he get accused of stealing them and get thrown out of the club?
He's raging about that, wasn't he? Yeah, corporate partner.
Oh, here we go. This is what we need to know. It's getting managed at this point, is it?
Other than that, we'd have been in with the Patreon money, the former partnership that to do God knows what with Rick Glazer.
Digital marketing agency.
Yeah. Testimonials. Let's have a look at some testimonials. Here we are. Bruce Trampler.
Didn't you hate him?
In the pudding. Bruce Trampler. That's a made-up name.
Don King. Here we are. If I attempted to duplicate Rick Glazer, it would be nearly impossible. Great boxing guy, excellent businessman, just as important, extremely trustworthy. Plus, he gets results quickly and swiftly.
Alrighty.
Don King seal of approval. That must tell you that you're corrupt.
Don King didn't say that, did he? That's not the way Don speaks.
Yeah.
You read that out again. That's not Don King. Look. He doesn't speak.
That's Don King. We don't know if it's Don King. That's the promoter.
Legendary boxing promoter. There's nothing from Dan.
Trella. Nothing from Don Trella either. Junior or senior.
No, he's not paid his money yet. Matt Ratner. He's too busy. Yeah, there you go.
What else is there?
What else we got here? Contacts. There you go. There's his phone number. Email address. His Twitter
inductee into the New York State Boxing Hall of Fame. Elector to the International Boxing Hall of Fame. Dull, innit? I was expecting more from that, to be honest.
Yeah, I was expecting like testimonials and that.
Are we going in the Hall of Fame, by the way?
Yeah.
Which Hall of Fame are you talking about?
Any of them.
You see, this is the thing that sprung up. I was just thinking about this. I thought there was just the IBHOF, the international.
Oh, no.
Now you've had like the Nevada.
Halls of Fame all over.
We should start our own Hall of Fame. Hall of Shame.
Oh, we do that.
That's a great idea.
Dad.
We do that with Bill of the Week.
Value of the Week is like a Hall of Shame, isn't it?
That's true. Rick versus Gardner creep-off. Anyway.
Sorry, I was just going to smell your neck, but you've got the camera rolling.
Yes, we are. Can I just kiss your neck there, sweetheart? Oh, there's a camera's running. Oh, sorry. Are you live just now? Hey, Eddie, you in the eyes. Yeah, we're live.
Quebec City.
I'll never forget Eddie's. You need to play that again. You need to watch Eddie. Watch Eddie kind of just plant his eyes on the guard in disgust, and then he's like, "Yeah, we're live."
I haven't got it uploaded.
Oh man, God, Eddie's like, "You fucking creep."
you know the way we're always making up like potential TV shows for like the guy to be in. I kind of like to see him in a kind of a hardcore UK detective in the 80s in around Soho job. Do you get me? Like something like that. Like where he has inexplicably has a Magnum fucking revolver as well.
Pecker or something like that. Vroom, vroom, this is Fight Club.
he somehow ends up infiltrating a fucking Chinese heroin smuggling operation or something like that. You know what I mean? I need to fucking.
Big John's in there eating evidence. And ODs because
you want to
someone get Guy Ritchie on the phone. I think we need to
here
there he is.
Matt Minge.
There you are.
Oh, sorry, Matt Binge. Sorry.
The watch along.
I need to say, I need to be honest, right? I don't know if he's listening. I didn't mean it in a bad way. But I've seen this picture before I opened it up. I actually thought the guy in the middle was actually Rob Tebbit until I clicked on it.
After Matt Binge.
That guy, you know.
After a 7-day bender.
And you've got big fish and wee fish as well.
How are they going to get all these people who are so hard to get to turn up at these kind of events all the time at the same time?
You've missed the main bit as well. Forged Irish Stout giveaways.
Yeah, there you
go.
So
need that in your life.
Conor McGregor by there on the site handing it all out.
That's Eddie's competition, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Maisie Rose there. Ebbs.
Fucking Big John will just turn up for the price of a Chinese or something like that. He's fucking easy.
2 for 1 fishers on the fucking ticket there.
Compare the size of
the same t-shirt.
Compare the size of Ebbs' fist and Big John's.
I think we should get tickets for this for Ozzy and the missus.
Freaking hell, could you imagine?
Oh,
I'll be a divorce.
Live watch.
Prenuptial divorce for poor Oz.
Oh, we wish them well.
We wish them well. The watch along, Ozzy going the domestic route with John Fisher. All their nice guy Jamel Herring has been having a bit of beef with the boxing Spazzo Artman. And someone says he's going to meet up and fight Artman. And Jamel Herring says, this is a bad one, only if he brings Bill Cosby.
That's his missus. That's his missus or his man?
I need to tell a story before I forget, right? He tried to do this rap video. He tried to do this rap video and he's kicking about with this fucking gun. Don't know if it's fucking loaded, right? And next minute he pulls out the bottle of cognac. Well, the problem is it was a fucking quarter bottle. You fucking bum. The fucking gun was bigger than the bottle, man. You fucking useless tadger.
I quite like Art, man. He's like a parody anyway.
He chewed me $200, man. The fucking Welcher.
He's off his head, man. He is absolutely. But yeah, I don't know if that's his ma or his missus, man. I'm not sure.
We wish them both well. He's he was mad for the betting, wasn't he? He didn't pay anyone. He's just shameless, man. He just didn't pay anyone to start turning back up on Twitter with a gun. Like, all right, come and get the money.
That's his granny, man, for the township. Maybe,
If you riled up Jamel Herring, who's one of the most passive boxers,
the nicest guys in the sport, like.
Fuck yeah.
Oh well.
I remember the LDBC, was it, no?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't think the LDBC even wanted him, Andy. He's that bad.
He got fucking cooked the night of Crawford and Spence. He got cooked. Him and the other fucking idiot. Who was your man? Ray Jackson, was it?
Oh,
that
Jackson,
was trolling Crawford for fucking years, basically, like pro era. Spence got absolutely flamed up. Hit him. Did you ever see the footage of Ray Jackson watching the fight? He's like, hit him, Earl. God damn, hit him, Earl.
He got sacked, didn't he, recently, Jackson? They were all slagging him on Twitter or something, I saw.
Did he?
I think so, yeah.
Not that happened to anyone unless they were...
No. We wish him well.
Yes.
Oscar's here. De La Hoya appears to His Excellency. I can make you proud.
I can make you proud, Your Excellency.
Make it rough and tough for those camels for you.
Well, His Excellency said, listen, we've got a fish net over here for you if you want to get cooked.
Oscar just wants to know if you want 1 humps or 2.
That's the last thing they need over there is De La Hoya, isn't it, man? Let's be honest.
Well, to be honest, man, he's making competitive fights, to be fair.
Well, that's true. That's true, yeah. Oscar feeling left out.
He hasn't got much choice, has he?
But hey, this is probably going to be my only bell of the week this week, but just to fast forward a wee bit. See, I was watching Did you watch the fight last night? Did you see his missus sitting next to him?
Yeah.
Right.
I sent Rob a picture.
Wait a minute here. Right. People keep telling me it's the future, but I think the future's here in the fucking present. That's artificial intelligence, that woman, by I'm fucking telling you.
I don't think there's much intelligence on this.
Yeah, it's artificial, alright.
She looks like she's just there. She just looks like plastic. And did you see the picture she took him in the bath time, man? With his fucking legs open, she's got the hands to cover him up. What the fuck?
The memo should be out to these ones now. Like, chill out on the Botox because you don't know what this shit's going to look like in 25 years. You get me? Like, maybe relax now a little bit, reel it back in a little bit, go all gracefully.
Oscar's lying there with a cow pat on his face doing that as well.
I swear to God, man, you ever have to go to a 40th birthday these days? It just feels like that fucking movie Saw, you know, with the fucking everyone's got them fucking cheekbones the same and the big chin. They're all going around with the dead behind the eyes, look, because they can't fucking move their faces.
Mate, I swear to me, I seen the man the day walking in the shop, man, with a fucking drought pout. Honestly, she must have been in her early 20s. I'm saying to myself, you've fucked yourself for life, hen. Just about that. Fucking the door opened.
I was all for it at the start for the girls like that had like, you know, you remember you used to meet girls that had like zero top lip, like they didn't have a top lip, and then all of a sudden they were going around like they had lips. That was good for them, like, but it's just gone too far now. It's gone a bit much. Everybody's face is all shiny. Fuck. I can't do it, man. It's fucking Oscar's missus. I think has gone past Botox, though, isn't it? I think she's had some major surgery, and that's good for her. If she wants to do that, I'm all for that.
You described her, Rob, when I sent you that picture. You said you described her as a reptilian shapeshifter. And
you shut up, Dominic. You don't have to be telling the fucking whole world what I'm saying on WhatsApp.
I said, are you talking about her or Oscar?
Yeah. Did you just call him a reptilian shapeshifter?
It's certainly one you would need to power through by a semi, like, to be fair.
That motherfucker is not real.
But that's just what I'm saying. It's just this look, and she's got the long. I said to this woman the other day, I said, how do they look their ass with the fucking nails and that, man?
I can't understand how he came from a country. He's Mexican, like, and he turns up anyway. Listen, whatever. He had the whole of Mexico. He could have fucking worked through there, like
500 women. Oh Jesus!
Well, wish her well.
Billy Joe Saunders announced he was coming out of retirement and put up a photo, and Ryan Deal did the Lord's work and created this masterpiece. He's been on fire lately.
Who's he going to fight, Saunders?
If I couldn't beat Chris Eubank Jr., my dad would beat me with a chain.
Dominic, an assassin, fuck me. Brilliant.
If I go back to the sort where I live, my dad would beat me with a chain.
Do the one of them when he's telling the fella that he banged his missus.
That was the one when he phoned up the guy. And you have the guy actually apologising to him for banging his own missus.
Your man was like, "You're going to stop saying that you were sleeping with." He's like, "I can't do that, mate, because that's going to make a liar out of me."
Everyone remembers the one with Wilder in Belfast, but the one that I always can't forget, it wasn't actually him. It was his son hitting Willie Monroe Jr. in the groin and the weigh-in.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen anything like Frank Warren looked shocked like.
I remember one of my favourites from Saunders is when he's calling Kurt's aside Danny DeVito. He's like, "You fucking Danny DeVito."
Didn't know who he was dealing with, did he?
Kurt's exactly. Like, "Let me get on his phone, asshole."
He's out now.
Yeah, he's back out. The rematch, they are. Well, not even a rematch. I don't think. Did it?
Actually, that'd be a good fight for both of them, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
They're talking about if he does come back, his first fight's going to be at 175.
No way.
Make it.
Why does he look like a bearded John Candy?
I think John Candy's in better shape, Matty. Right, anyway. There's all the ones. Oh, Andy, there's your mate. I'll throw him as well.
Jeremy Hayes.
Or Tinder.
Fucking rat.
Like some corrupt British MP, don't they?
Mate, every MP is fucking corrupt.
Why is he looking at me like that? I don't know.
Because he wants to make love to you, Rob.
But that reminds me, I used to go to this barber and he kept fucking looking at me in the mirror like that. And I stopped going in the end. Like, every time I was going, he's looking at me in the mirror like that. I was like, "Look, man, sorry. I'm breaking up with this barber. Fuck that."
Just wanted to do a good job. Right. All the ones that
How
I've got.
long did you wait between haircuts, Rob? Couple days.
I get me a haircut every week.
He's there every week.
Took me about 5 or 6 appointments before I figured out this was something wrong.
Right, Matty, what do you have for us this week, please?
I was gonna nominate that asshole, but you stole it, so right on.
Super job. Dominic, what have you got for us?
I've just got one excellent nomination, Steve. I told you about this earlier in the week. It was from an interview that Ames, I don't know if he's in the chat, but he sat down for a chat with Thomas Hauser earlier this week, and Hauser was going in on Eddie as he's wont to do, and out of nowhere he just sort of said Eddie's given a lot of opportunities to Sky Nicholson. I don't see where this is coming from or what the reasoning is behind this, and I was obviously clear he knew exactly what he was doing, but it was brilliant. Like, he's just pure shithousery. Like, but
it's Housery, well done, good one.
But Ian said to me, he said, I wonder will Eddie. Hauser said he invited Eddie to sit down with him for a sort of head to head on neutral ground. And of course, Eddie, when he was asked about this the other day, he says, why would I want to sit down and speak to Thomas Hauser? So no enthusiasm for Eddie for a chat with Thomas Hauser, but
you missed that actually. The full clip was he said, why would I want to sit down with Thomas Hauser when I'm fucking banging Sky Nicholson? I got better shit to do. Fuck that. Sit down with this curly head fucker talk about drugs. Fuck off.
He makes a good point.
It's a good thirsty, aye.
Thought it was good from Hauser, though. He knew exactly what he was doing.
Oh, he does. He knows what he's doing.
Plausible deniability.
Yes, exactly. Right. Nothing from ours. Anything from you, Rob?
Yeah, I've got 2 for this week. So the guy being completely unaware. Nick Hennessy's daughter's a fighter, isn't she?
Yes, Francesca.
So she posted on her Insta, came up with me. It's like, and the guy's in the clip. He's like, Francesca's got it all. She's teenage. She's beautiful. I'm like, whoa. This guy is not learning. He's not learning his own lesson. What people think of him. He's not doing anything to fucking pour any fucking cold water on the smoke here. The guy, like, she's a teenage, beautiful fighter.
Teenage. She's beautiful.
Hey,
she lives on a dark street.
Yeah.
Ever see how the God, when he's talking about Conor Benn, he can't talk about Conor Benn without referring to him as a wonderful human being.
Brendan Rodgers and fucking what's it called? Roy Jones, 55, is scheduled to fight Antonio Tarver, 54.
Oh, no way.
So is it going to be revenge or a beef for Roy?
Fuck's sake.
You see the Kingpin Johnson has sort of followed Roy's example and become an honorary citizen of blood.
He couldn't wait to get to fucking Russia. Kingpin.
Bet you they're in the employ of the CIA, the Kingpin and Roy. They're sleepers, the two of them.
Yeah, they're top of the CIA's list, I'd say, if you want to go infiltrate a country.
Dennis Rodman in North Korea.
Now we know why they call him Kingpin.
I don't think there's too many brain cells left between them.
Kaiser Soze and everybody all along, Kingpin Johnson. Yeah, so Roy versus Tav. Like, Roy, stop, man, will you? We love you. Like, we don't want you to die in the ring. Just give it up, man. We were the greatest fighter of all time. There's no need to. But I kind of wanted to get his moment against Tarver. So I hope he spacks Tarver if they do have this fight.
Tell me this, Rob. Where were you when Tarver, the first fight, actually, didn't Roy win the first fight?
Yeah, he won the first fight.
He won the first fight. I was in my house.
down, hadn't he, from Ruiz a few months later?
I was in my house with my dad, who was the biggest Roy Jones detractor in history, up until he retired, and then he changed his opinion of him, and he was the greatest thing since fucking put in. He's like, I fucking told you he's no good. I told you. When he carried Mike McCallum that time, he was like, you want to be knocking him out. Mike McCallum, like, you want to be fucking knocking him out at 75 pounds. He fucking used to always be, yeah, so I remember that one, and then the knockout that came after, and he was just smug as anything, like, over fucking Roy Jones getting paid because Ruiz was his man, because his nickname was the fucking Quiet Man, and that was my dad's favorite film. So he was pissed off that Roy Jones had beat fucking John Ruiz. Fuck's sake, man! Jesus Christ!
Oh dear, Andy, what have you got for us, please?
Just not much, mate. Just that Lewis Crocker celebration. I think he won the world title, and that the way he was going on there last night. Just a bit of a weight bully, I suppose, and that. So one for that. don't think there's anything else. Aye, that's it.
Lovely. Right, let's go through them quickly. All the ones the boys mentioned, plus a bit of Picasso there with his outfit. We had Jaime defending Con. We had Kel in the comments. We had Rick Glazer, 24/7 Glazer boxing never stops. John Fisher never stops. The watch along. You can get stuck into that if you want. Jamel Herring labelling Artman's Mrs. Bill Cosby. We got Oscar appealing to His Excellency. Have a bit of Jeremy Hayes. Oscar's misses. And Ryan Deal, new Millie Joe Saunders, Rob, who you go for?
Hauser was being a bit. You don't be putting fucking side chick business in the street, Hauser. It's okay exposing all the wrongdoing in the sport, but that's a fucking step too far for me. So Hauser's getting it for me this week.
Good stuff. One for Thomas Hauser. Dominic, who are you going for?
Yeah, I'll go for Hauser as well. And don't know if he's ever won the prestigious belly of the week before, but I'll just say I agree with what Andy's saying. His nomination about Crocker being deadly serious. I thought, he does have a point there. Like he was celebrating that he flipping knocked out Sugar Ray Leonard or something. But yes, that was a point well made.
Okay, Matty, 2 for Thomas Hauser. He could finally be putting the cherry on the top of his worthless career and winning the belly of the week. Who are you going for?
No way. 119-109 from this chump. Fuck him. Jeremy Hayes this week, sir.
Jeremy Hayes. Andy, who you got?
Jeremy Hayes, mate. Ooh. What an absolute rebel that guy is.
Deciding vote for you, Stephen.
Well, I wasn't going to go for either of them, but I suppose I'm going to have to, aren't I, to make this nice and fair. So I think I will go for Hauser as well. I'll go for Thomas Hauser. I liked his little quip. It's not beneath him, is it? A little low blow from Hauser, a bit of salt in the eyes. So
the esteemed Ryder dropping a
Jesus.
bit of...
Jesus, Steve, just fucking cross south into the border already. Fucking jeez.
Would be happy to, Matty. Would be happy to, but not until Thomas Hauser's wins Value of the Week award.
Fucking hell.
For episode 557. Congratulations. Back to you, Matty. Quickly, thank you.
Oh, Lordy. It was a good one this week. I'd like to thank everybody for coming on this week. Ricky Graville for his generous £5 that he threw in there. Des came on earlier today. We've had Andy Patterson, Dominic, Rob Kelly, Steve Wellings. I've been your host, Matt DeJohnor. We'll be back with you guys next week to review everything that we discussed, and we'll also discuss the return of Teofimo Lopez against Jermaine Ortiz, which is going to be on a Thursday night, crazy as that might be. But we are looking forward to it. Going to be a fair bit of action that week. And you folks take care of yourselves, and we will see you next week.
We'll never forget.
I think that's good happening.
Go to move! We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep. I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Grumpo fucking Steltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year reign. 7-year reign.
I will fucking smash. Fuck you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love boxing sounds. Simple as that.